It's time to fight for the crown. The king is yet to be decided in North America. Our last match of the day is about to remedy that problem. Two teams who have already qualified for the Manchester Major, looking to see who can claim the top spot, mostly because they've done everything to this point to prove that they are the best, and now it's about to be decided. Welcome back to the final game of North American League Stage 1. I'm Jacob, he's Laxing, he's Jesse. Just as a reminder, the last time these teams played, this was beastcoast 7-1 over M80 on Oregon, and now we're about to see them go into a best-of-3 context. So, one-sided landslide, or is this one going to be close?
I want to say this one's going to be close, but this is a little bit of bragging rights, right? You get first in NA, you get some more prize money, but most importantly, those SI points.
100%. I mean, these are two squads who have obviously been at the top of their game. Lots on the line in terms of SI points and prize money for sure, but they're both going to Manchester, so they don't have the same pressure that Auction and Dark Zero had coming into their game earlier today. I think they're both going to be fighting as hard as they can for this one, but if they lose, it's not like that crushing devastation, which is probably what Oxygen are feeling right now.
They're not playing for that much of a SI point difference. They're fighting for 5. Because 95 for second, 100 for first. That's the main difference.
Jacob.
Definitely make a difference.
Sometimes. You never know what it's going to come down to end of the year.
It's the prize pool increase that really matters the most, because first is $62,000, third place is only $30,000.
At the wrong time.
I was gonna say, dude, what's wrong with you, man?
Honestly, I couldn't even get there. I got last place.
Dude, you left at the wrong time because, dude, the game is so much better these days. Why'd you quit when you did?
Yeah. Because he wanted to be with us on the desk, Jacob.
With you guys.
And now life is so much better as a result. Let's jump into this matchup. It's M80 and Beast Coast, which is nuts already to think that Beast Coast are the #1 team in the league, but that is where we stand. They defeated Dark Zero at the back end of yesterday, 2-1 to claim the second overall spot for North America in Manchester. And again, I'm still reeling and really proud of these guys for going that far.
These guys just feel like they want it. I don't know, man. Gunner and Diffuser in particular have been putting up ridiculous numbers. Diffuser's always been a little bit more backlines, a little bit more passive, really good at survivability. Gunner has been the guy popping off, singing in their matches, going out of his mind to carry Beast Coast through some of these ridiculous rounds. He has been so fun to watch and so explosive for Beast Coast. The whole team just looks so well together. They're gelling incredibly well through these last couple of matches, and they've been unstoppable through these last, I mean, how many games is that they've won in a row, ignoring that one DZ match? I mean, they've been on fire.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about their map pool specifically. They have the best map pool in all of NA for a brand new team, which I think, again, that heavily favors into 4 veterans that came from very strong rosters. And that alone, that sets you up for a lot of success, not only in your own regional, but then going internationally now into Manchester.
We're about to make a comparison that when I saw this come up, I was a bit stunned that it was these two players in particular that we wanted to talk about. Talking about SPoit is par for the course, but talking about Gunner versus SPoit. Lex, tell me where you're going with this.
I wanted to talk about Gunner specifically because in that interview yesterday, he said people were saying that he was quote-unquote shit.
Right.
And then we see him yesterday, and he was absolutely looking like he wanted Manchester more than anyone in that lobby. Not to say that nobody wanted it, but the performance that he was putting up, the gunfights that he was taking, the confidence that he was displaying in that match throughout thick and thin would clearly indicate why they're popping up in Manchester.
Wow. Homie's dropping a 2.0 KD in pro play and beat SPoit in most stats categories.
Obviously,
Look at that.
Obviously, I just got to say, SPoit is the best player. We did talk about this. He did get stage MVP, but Gunner is in the runner for this. I mean, at least going into this head-to-head, Gunner is definitely putting up the numbers to support that.
Yeah, yesterday, obviously, ridiculous performance, 2.0 KD, as you said, Jacob. He's really been popping off. 2 aggressive players who are incredible in really tough moments, in tight spots. When most players will be faulting, they're the ones stepping up for their team, so I think it's an apt comparison.
Well, we also need to recognize M80's accomplishments because, again, they were the team that lost the least amount of games through the round robin, come in, storm their way to victory as the first team that was able to qualify for Manchester just last night. And, again, it's very difficult to find things to fault this team for doing wrong.
Absolutely. We talked about Beast Coast being the most improved roster, but M80 has by far been the most consistent roster. This is a roster that looks like they're just improving every single day. You really can't fault them on anything. All 5 of these players are all standout players and all play a very pivotal role for each and every single one of these guys to be finding the success and now finding themselves at Major, and also a possible shot at being first place overall.
Yeah, I think these guys, again, as individuals, are ridiculously talented. It feels like any single player can pop off and have an insane moment, but you can't downplay their team play as well. Their ability to work off each other on their own. We've seen it throughout the stage, from the early rounds to the late rounds. I really think that this team has been finding success in all aspects in terms of their defensive roams, but also in attack. It's tough for M80 to find those faults because, as you said, Jacob, they've just been so consistent throughout the stage.
Kudos to whoever's the general manager on M80 for having the balls to decide on the players that they brought into this stage, because Noodle had a little bit of that GK experience and thought maybe he's a good fit because he's playing with SPoit, trying to bring Kino back into the fold. But I also just think that getting the guy who was 3rd overall rated at the 6th Invitational is just kind of a cheat code if you get the chance to bring him in.
It really is, and Citizen powers up at these really tough moments. He's been the guy who has stepped up the most in these playoffs. He has been dropping ridiculous KDs, map after map after map. We're calling SPoit the MVP because Citizen was maybe a little bit quieter, had a few off games through the group stage, but my God, it just feels like he's playing with wall hacks on some of these rounds in Pro League, but the information is always being fed to him. He knows exactly where to look. His reaction time is absurd. He has been my favorite player to watch throughout these last couple of days for M80. He's been so consistently good in the early round when he needs to hunt out and trade these roamers, in the late round as well. He has always been stepping up big for the squad, so you gotta shout out Citizen. He's been playing so well recently.
Absolutely, and it's the intuition for me from as a player standpoint is he just always knows the right plays. And I never get that lucky. I can never come behind 3 people, and I flank people all the time, and he can do it just walking down a main staircase that's typically watched. But again, the intuition that comes from Citizen is so important for his role and what he brings to that roster, because not a lot of players have that, and that's not something that you can teach.
Yeah, and take a look at the stats. The difference between the group stage and the playoffs is ridiculous. 28 increase on the EPS. Wasn't bad during the group stage, still +7, but the absurdity of his stats going into playoffs, just ridiculous. Love seeing that out of Citizen.
Both beastcoast and M80 also have this one thing that I think is super important. They understand that when their chips are down, their backs are against the wall, they both know how to adapt. And I think specifically for this matchup, that's probably going to be one of the focal points. We talked to both of them before this game started about who is going to take the #1 matchup in the NAL.
I'm happy with how everything went down in the playoffs. I mean, the last game against OG was a nail-biter for sure. A lot on the line. Yeah, but just happy, you know, to have this new project, like this team, you know, in such a short time, made it this far into the bracket and playoff and everything. So yeah, just happy. Yeah.
To me, we played awfully. To me, there's a lot to fix. I am obviously elated, absolutely overjoyed that we made the major, and I'm so happy that everyone worked so hard to get there. But it only shows that we have so much flaws, and I'm glad that it shows that we have so much flaws to fix before going fully international. I think the team's excited to go international as a first time as a team. I think they see the potential of each other, they love each other, and they see the long-term progress. But for me personally, I want to show that I can be one of the best coaches in the world. I want to go out there and absolutely dominate these other coaches that think they know the game.
Our first game against Beast Coast earlier in this NAL stage was quite a surprise on our end. I feel like we prepared too much, if that makes sense. Sometimes you just gotta let the defaults, do its thing. You gotta trust, like focus more on yourself rather than the enemy team. And I think that's the trap we fell into that game. We focused too much on them rather than us, and I think it clearly showed as well in our gameplay. We were kind of hectic.
I think it'll be a lot tighter of a rematch. That first game, honestly, we completely overtook them. We were having a great day, and they were obviously having a horrible day. I think they were able to learn a lot from that, right? And I think they're going to come with that absolute fire and heat. I completely welcome them to try to counter shut us because we're ready for absolutely anything.
Oftentimes, it's the players themselves who are talking trash, saying that they want to be the best in the world. But to hear Fet, a coach, a back-end guy, say that he wants to prove that he knows the game better than any other coach, he's made a pretty good statement because of where his team sits right now, but that's still a bold statement nonetheless.
I was going to say, that's the first time I've ever seen a coach get that aggressive on an interview. It kind of made me think like Fet was in the lobby playing for one of these guys the entire time.
Yeah.
For sure, but I mean, that's the competitive spirit you want from your coach. Everybody all in on getting to win. And I mean, interesting what Fet's decisions have been through this map ban phase. They actually are going to go through and let Clubhouse be picked by M80. I'm a little bit surprised by that, just for the fact that this on paper is Beast Coast's worst map. They've lost it twice, 0-2 so far. M80, the flip side, 2-0 through the stage. A little bit surprised they let that one go through. I'd expect it to be banned out alongside Skyscraper, which tends to be their perma-ban. But they go for the cons ban instead, and then they can go and pick up Labs.
Yeah, looking at Labs is also interesting for me. Obviously, both these teams have VODs on each other, but what's interesting for M80 to let this through specifically is I don't think Oxygen really put up the performance that we wanted them to against M80, so it kind of gives that false confidence that you feel your NightHaven is a lot stronger than what it actually is, and may get exploited like how they did versus Sonics.
I will say, though, I mean, new team, but even old M80 was great at NightHaven Labs.
True.
They're undefeated in organization history on that map, so it should be exciting for them to have two pretty strong ones coming up right off the bat. And then, of course, we end on Chalet, a classic of the North American League, one of my favorite maps to watch. M80 loved that map. We saw them play just yesterday.
I think this map favors both teams going into that decider. I think it's really going to come down. I think both teams can possibly maybe win each other's picks, or you're going to win on each other's picks. Obviously, that goes without say, but I do feel very confident that we are going to see a third map between these two teams.
beastcoast will be starting on defense on both of the first two guaranteed maps that we play in this series. Gentlemen, one final time, just because you might want to get that percentage up just by a tad bit more, who takes this bad boy? Who is the #1 team in the NAL going into Manchester?
I just, honestly, like, I'm looking at the 51% realistically.
If
here,
that drops any more, you're out. Yeah,
I gotta stay high. I've gone with Beast Coast so many times that this time I'm just gonna have to say M80.
I'll switch it up. I think Beast Coast got it. I think they could come through here and get the upset. I think M80 certainly looked good in that map ban phase. I really like those maps for them. But, you know, I think we need some spice in the death. Let's go for Beast Coast.
Make things even harder for production to be like, yo, whoa, what are we doing? You said something before. At this point,
The belt's gone.
it no longer matters. The belt is already going to Fox A, but as far as we're concerned, we don't know who's going to Manchester as the #1 team. Beast Coast and M80 fighting for the NAL Stage 1 championship, and it's Parker and Pengu to take us through it.
Well, thank you very much. And the kings of NA, dare we say the best of the West, are in front of us. A team that didn't even exist 4 months ago is suddenly going up against an organization that was in the league, but another team that didn't even exist 4 months ago. Not even 2 months ago, frankly. M80 didn't like their results at SI in Sao Paulo, so they blew up the roster and they imported players from all over the world. Beast Coast decided to go with a more domestic approach. It is a little bit funny, and this was pointed out on social media, Nick, that a great deal of these Beast Coast players were dropped from teams that are not going to the major. Gunner dropped from SQ. Gunner's going to the major now. HotandCold dropped from Space Station. He's going to the major now. If DZ had failed to qualify, Gavin would have been going to the major when Dark Zero wouldn't. So these players might not have been integral to their teams at the time, but a team is more than just the sum of its parts. And when you move those parts around to other teams, good things can happen, as you see with Beast Coast. Despite that, despite the fact that they're the #1 seed coming into this match, the community says with 69%
Nice.
that it's going to be M80 taking it. Who will be the best team in North America? We've got 2, maybe 3 maps to determine this. We'll start on M80's pick of Clubhouse.
The big surprise, of course, is Beast Coast. We saw in the first goal play this, and I was thinking, you know what is this roster? They're not performing very well. This is never gonna work. And then I think it's like their 4th game or something like that. They were basically the best team in North America, and they have not slowed down ever since. And legitimately, they could beat M80. This is not like they made it this far, but now they're gonna lose. No. Beast Coast could take it all. And I think this is a great map to start things off on. I love Clubhouse. It actually may be my favorite map currently in the game. So I love seeing it. I love seeing a high level of Clubhouse. It comes down to your strategical approach, executes, but also I think it tests pretty much everything from a team. Oregon is like your core fundamentals, the very basics, droning, getting in the building, crossfires. But Clubhouse tests that, plus your strats, plus your executes, plus your adaptations, and counter-stratting. It's a very strategy-oriented map. East Coast starts in the basement, but looking at the lineup, looking at their play positions, they might have a bit of a roam going on. The mute and cancel the solos, they signify that they're gonna get active. They're gonna play across all 3 floors, top floor, primary floor, and then of course the basement bomb site itself. M80, they have to counter. We're gonna have 2 options. Either contest the roam clear, go upstairs, pick them apart, or hit the bomb site directly. That's pretty much the gist of it. Maybe they're gonna playing all those power operators. For a second, it was gonna be the Capitale, but last moment there, Kino goes to Jackal with SPoit on Deimos, so this very much is an empty roam clear from them.
It really will be fascinating to see Beast Coast at an international event. You and I weren't casting yesterday, so we didn't get to see, or rather, we got to see it. I watched the match, but we didn't get to cast Beast Coast making it. There's a part of me as a caster where most of the time I don't really care what I cast. I know you are of the same mindset.
Oh.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh no, I get what you mean.
I'll cast whatever match. I'm not picky. I'm not going to go out of my way to request a certain matchup. But getting to see a new team / new org, even though Beast Coast's been around for a while, see them qualify, well, that would have been something that would have been special. And I kind of wish my voice had been associated with it. But in this case, my voice and your voice, because I'm not just trying to make everything about myself, Nick. It's going to go towards this matchup in particular. So while we don't get to send them to the major, we at least get to know which team is the best in the region. And I'm immensely proud of M80, who have been playing here in Toronto, just down the street from me. Hometown boys, I like to call them. Gunner died early, by the way. He had a great day yesterday. A rough start to this matchup. Same with Cameraman. The exothermic charges will be no more. The Thermite dead at the hands of Beast Coast.
It makes it a 1-for-1 trade. No team comes out ahead. It's still a 4 versus 4, but I really like how I made it got that opening pick. In case you didn't see it, it was 2 players on the office hatch in the roof, 1 person proning holding the office door, the other person, of course, popping that hatch open. And it's just a very small, clean, mini execute, if you will. And I think it's a maybe they excel at. They're very good at doing these very small things together to put themselves in strong positions. Also worth noting, they dropped the diffuser on the roof, so even if Cameron died in the entry, defenders didn't know they had the diffuser case in control. And yes, it does mean that Kino had to rotate a little bit, waste 10 seconds to go to the roof to pick it up again, but it just ensures that defenders they can only go back towards the bomb site. That's what Beast Coast did. It's gonna be playing out 4v4. Citizen, pop it open those hatches. You got Kino and Jackal can scan out 1 defending position. And you have SPoit on Deimos who can track a 2nd defender as well. So very quickly, Mayday could find out 2 of the 4 exact player locations and then go for a 3-2-1 bomb set execute with intel.
Application of Deimos is something that I always like to try to make mention of, because teams approach this operator very differently, whether you use one of those death marks early or instead use it at the tail end of the round. Oh, SPoit's gonna just barnstorm on in. He's lost Kino. Attempting to turn around towards blue now through the fire. Noodle will trudge. Almost retrievable, but he can't get his teammate up in time. No, HotandCold will pulverize the last 2 players from M80, and Beast Coast takes the first round.
Going on fire is always a big problem if you are either slow on the attack or just too many things happening in that round. And I think just that Beast Coast, they stalked the room for as long as it did, find that 1 pick onto Cameraman, it really slowed down the attack. And of course, we saw the effect of it. Also, the 4 versus 4 defenders, not gonna worry all too much. They can lose 1 player. It's not the end of the world. But after that first round, we'll get a quick technical pause here before we will resume. But Beast Coast very much looking like they are here to play. Of course, same can be said for M80. They had a great start to that round, just not a great finish.
Curious as to what tech pause is at play here, but I mean, nothing really jumped out about that round in particular. It's a nice entry kill from M80, answered back by Beast Coast. There's a term that we've started to introduce into our casting, and that's sticky. Sticky teams are teams that always seem to trade out when you get the first or second kill, and then they trade it right back. And it's very challenging to establish a lead in any given round. Great example of this would have been you. I mean, your team was probably the first team that really, I hate to say this word, but it's true, revolutionized trading in this game. There was a period of time in the tail end of SI through Atlantic City over the Paris Major and onwards, where it felt like every time you killed somebody on Penta/G2, there was another player within a second to kill the player who killed you and equalize those numbers. And that's very punishing to deal with. W7M roster, now known as Furia, are another team that have really excelled in that regard. They're almost always playing together. And it really did start to shine when they were playing so aggressively on defense. I feel like Beast Coast is a team that tends to be in a similar position, but obviously they can't realize the same success with it because they are still so new. But give them enough time, and this team really does gel well. On both attack and defense, the Beast Coast roster likes to play together. For the most part, maybe Gunner is the one player who often is on his own. If you find one player on Beast Coast, you're probably going to find another very quickly. And a lot of times it's not going to be in the direction that you want that fight to go in.
Yeah, and I think the impressive thing about both Beast Coast and M80 as teams is that I think the ceiling, the potential is very high as well. I'm not thinking that, oh, you know, this current Beast Coast is the best they will ever be. I mean, first of all, the team just, you know, was just created, same for M80, but also I see so much more in the future if they play together for longer, if they stick the roster and getting like more LAN experience. You know, this being the first major for them as a team, and even for the org of Beast Coast. But also to go back to the point about trading, back in my day in Penta G2, we had this rule that was called the one room rule. And it meant that you could not be further than like a 2 or 3 second sprint away from your closest ally when you're going for the entry engagement. That's like the simple way to explain it. And that's what we see now that pretty much every single pro team they do. You ideally want to have one person leading the charge, that's called an entry, and you have a second player shortly behind called the second entry. And if you make a mistake and there's too big of a gap between like 1 and 2, you will have somebody die and nothing comes out of it. No trade, no refrag, no, you know, map control is lost as well, you're in the dark. And the best teams in the world, they will have a small enough gap where you will not die to the same bullet by your opponent, but you'll be close enough to actually do something about your teammate's death shortly after. And that's the kind of rule that we implemented back in like 2017, 2018, and it's an iteration, an adaptation that we see that every single team they use today, because we've all learned, we've all gotten better with time.
The one conversation that also tends to happen around whether or not, you know, that Penta G2 roster is the greatest team to ever play, or if you want to make an argument that this new Furia roster is. I mean, I don't think it's a controversial thing to say that the quality of matches that were occurring in 2016, 2017, 2018, when you and your team was at its heyday.
2019 as well.
Sorry?
2019 as well. You forgot 2019.
Yeah, of course. You won SI and then did nothing for the rest of the year. My bad. You right.
SI is a pretty big deal, man.
What happened at Milan?
I didn't even watch it because I was so angry that we failed to qualify. I actually don't know what happened in Milan.
Right. What happened at Tokonami?
Same story. Didn't watch it because I was too mad I didn't qualify.
What happened at SI the next year?
We got invited out of pity because we failed to qualify.
And then what happened?
We got slaughtered by Fnatic, which was a joke of a team because they were APAC back then, even though they're actually pretty decent. And in IP, we shit-talked all year, then sent us home. It was karma.
Okay, so we're going to forget 2020. We're just going to talk about 2019. Thank you so much for. Or sorry, we're gonna forget 2019. We're gonna talk about 2018 because in 2019.
No, don't take it away from me.
No, I'm taking it away from you.
Okay, can we go back to Milan?
Say that the quality of those matches, though, to get back to my point, are far worse than the quality of the matches we have now. Right? Teams have improved. The mechanical skill of players. You know, I remember back in the day when people were like, Jonas, the best mechanical player to ever touch this game.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's a Jonas on every team.
Yeah.
If not more
multiple.
Than one.
Yeah.
So when you look at where we are as a game and you talk about that Furia team, it's important to note that even the I was going to say even the worst players are better than some of the better players back then, but I mean, that was a head-scratching altercation with Gavin and Kino.
Yeah, 2017 Penta would have not died to that angle, just saying.
2017?
And 18, and 16. 19 might have.
2020 definitely would have.
Definitely
would have lost to that angle. Oh, that is a very unfortunate first player to lose, because when you look at a Capitao, application for Capitao, you're going to put those fire arrows up on the rafters. You're going to use those secondary hard breach gadgets to put some presence into garage. None of that is going to happen now.
Oh yeah, that's the issue. You gotta pivot. You have to go for a master bedroom jacuzzi side roam clear into construction take. But the issue is, we see there's a setup on the roam there. Mirror windows, 2 roamers from Beast Coast. They are very much prepared and ready for that take as well. There's a lose-lose situation for M80. They gotta just like go in there, adapt, and get those gun kills because they got no strategic approach to this.
Boyd's just going to run right in. Gavin looking the wrong way, still in the same position from where he killed Kino earlier on. Gunner will be the failsafe right now, lying prone on the floor of the stairs. HotandCold dies, Diffuser trades it right back. And what did I say about Beast Coast being this sticky team? As Diffuser, you get droned out of this position. He's turned his back to the breach. Cameraman dies to Spirits. This could have been a pick on a Diffuser. But those evil eye cams positioned so well. The Maestro or whomever on defense can watch this. SPoit's the last one standing, being watched quite so intently. And Gunners on the side of Beast Coast, you need to fear them no matter what. But when you give them intel, they're going to punish you with that information, just as Gunner does. It was a bit of a lengthy delay between the rounds, but Beast Coast have not cooled off one bit.
No, they've not. And the thing about Beast Coast is that they got good players and like individual skill, gun plays, decision making, but also strategically, they have shown so much, again, depth and potential very early on. They play CCTV, and unlike most teams, they don't just commit to, let's just hold garage and then let them attack master bedroom side. No, they hold catwalk garage, and they also extend to master bedroom. Now, the extension itself didn't do all that much. They got picked apart very quickly, to my surprise. But the gunplay and the trade game afterwards very much favored the defense. Because the attackers, they might get 1 kill. Guess what, Beast Coast? They get 2. Attackers get 1 kill. Well, let's get 2 more. There's no more attackers left. Round is over. Like, it's really that simple. Beast Coast now looking at that perfect bomb site rotation for 3 in a row. Started downstairs basement, CCTV, was successful. Now going to gym bedroom, and would you look at that? They are, surprise, surprise, extending once more, fighting for map control, to slow down M80, but also, again, make them problem solve every step of the way. The more problems you put into your attacker's path, the more decisions they have to make, the more options there are for a potential error or a gap to be exploited. And they're gonna go one step further. They're actually bandit tricking CCTV extension and then also putting Gunner on Asami on catwalk rafters. They're adding that another layer to this while still having deployable shield in top red, having mirror windows on the bomb site. So no matter which direction M80 will attack from, the exact bomb site direct approach or for the roam clear, it'll be met again with trouble and difficulty.
Fortunate vintage Kino performance to start this map. He's had almost like a second life in this game with the changes that M80 made. Kino is looking far more comfortable on the squad. He's on hard breach duty for the moment, so it's imperative that he survives late enough into the round to get that hard breach gadgetry deployed. SPoit entered the day as the #1 rated player in North America, Citizen in 4th place. SPoit at an eye-watering 152 kills. The next closest, Citizen at 129 kills. The next closest after that, 112 in the hands of Nafe. So quite a drop-off. After that, it drops down to the hundreds. It's like flat out 100. It's like 107, which is Ashen. So SPoit is a full like 50 kills above the player in 5th. When you look at somebody like Kino, though, would it surprise you to know that he's actually middle of the pack? He's the 3rd highest rated player on this team. And while his numbers aren't positive, he's been playing utility roles, and he's been killing enough that he's close enough to even. He strikes first in this round, taking out HotandCold, who has looked very good himself. It's a big loss for Beast Coast. They get the kill back. Again, this stickiness. Kino dies. Down goes SPoit to Gavin. East Coast still holding, for the time being, this cash portion, but Citizen will trade it right back. Both of these teams very well positioned to keep these numbers close. Cash wall's not been penetrated just yet, and boy, oh boy, Diffuser, who's having a great debut in the NA League, just continues to apply as much pain as humanly possible. Mandela goes off, Diffuser in the corner, and he somehow wins it either way. Unpredictable gunfight breaking in his favor. Cameraman still stopped in this position. Fuser is holding pat. Cameraman has no information, walking right in. He's the last one standing from M80. It was SPoit before, but now Cameraman will search for his first kill.
5 seconds left.
Running out of time. Will he even find it? Yes, Diffuser caught mid-rotate. But again, a trade from Beast Coast. Even when there's 1 second left and you've won the round on time, you still are close enough to do serious damage and get those picks. Beast Coast looking indomitable, and it does not surprise me in the slightest that M80 will call their timeout, going down 0-3.
I think M80, they have been suffering from being too good in this stage. What I mean by this is that in most games they've played so far, that exact attack would have worked. Just like simple, 4 people CCTV, brute force through a single doorway. But against the best teams in the region and the best teams in the world, you know, going to the major, for example, of Manchester, you're gonna have to do another step, which, for example, a buck below, a little bit of verticality, or get the hot breach destruction, on the walls earlier in the round because they were stopped by a single jammer. And then they just swung one door. Guess what? Beast Coast, they win in the individual gunfights, and they rotated manpower for the crosses as well. So M80 are not doing enough in these rounds on the attacking side. They're trying to simplify their approach, and again, that will go punish against better teams, and that's exactly what happened in that round. Beast Coast, they will live and they will die and fight for the extension because they don't care if time is running low. Beast Coast are defending. Time favors them. The more time they spend wasting M80's time on the roam clear, so to speak, they're happy with it. And Beast Coast could have just like ran back early in the round, but no, they stick around, they fight it. They don't give M80 anything for free. So yes, I agree with you. A great time to take a tactical timeout for M80 because you have to get a different strategic approach, you gotta problem solve more effectively, and just to think again, do a little bit more, have another layer to use attacking rounds, and don't oversimplify them.
5 seconds left.
This is M80's map pick, by the way. For those that don't maybe have a visual indicator in front of you, if you look at the top right of your screen, you'll see the 3 maps that were selected. If those icons and images are a little bit too small, well, allow me to read them out for you. M80 picked Clubhouse. Beast Coast gets to start on the side that they choose. They opt to go on defense, and for good reason so far. They're up 3-0. Even though it's not their map, they picked a comfortable side, and they seem to be doing quite a good job with it. Next up is NightHaven Labs. That's Beast Coast's choice. Beast Coast continues to roll the way they are. It could be a quick 2-0. Chalet is the decider. M80, after taking their time out, have said, you know what? If they're going to play downstairs, let's breach into this site as quickly as possible. Proximity alarms going off. There's the sense to throw out a wall that cannot be seen through. Goodbye, Citizen. Goodbye to SPoit. Goodbye, Noodle. Goodbye, the opportunity. But still, Kino gets the diffuser down. Cameraman miles away from the bomb site, and Kino's dead, so it's all up to Cameraman in a 1v5.
Aww.
This is a round that I appreciate what they were trying to do, but it just didn't work out. Beast Coast reads into it well. Gunner's looking the wrong way. Cameraman getting his second kill after taking down Diffuser in the previous round, but both of Cameraman's kills will be impactless. For a team as good as M80, this has been a dreadful start. And honestly, it's not M80 playing poorly. It's Beast Coast playing the game that they've played all stage. And it's about time that we start putting some respect on that name.
And it comes down to small details. I think one very simple, very small piece of utility actually made that round so much easier for Beast Coast. A piece of barbed wire was on the dirt door. So when Kino jumps to the barricade with the blitz, he is slowed down significantly. He can't sprint the barbed wire anymore. And instead of taking maybe 20% of his health by the Goya Fire, he takes about 80% of his health in Goya Fire. And the players behind him, same story. They take way too much utility damage. They can't rush the actual bomb site because there's a barbed wire there. When you go for those rush rounds, you know there's gonna be a Goya caster. We all know it. That's how you play basement defense, right? That's expected. You don't expect the barbed wire necessarily though. So these very, very small details, they're not missed by Beast Coast. There's no oversight. Like they don't miss those at all. They have the full picture, they see the small details, they make sure that they're there, it happens. Very well done by them. They buy a completely free round off the rush from M80. And to be honest, mentally speaking, I hope they got good vibes because this can be very frustrating. Now, both teams are quarter of the major, so there is that. Of course, you're fighting for the bracket match of being the best team in the region, SI points, yada, yada, yada. And these are competitive players and competitive teams. You have it in you where you cannot just play for fun. You might go into the saying, guys, let's just have fun, but no, you want to win. Noodle runs in, he dies alone, and nobody follows whatsoever.
East Coast team is just, it's something to cheer for. Spirits, by the way, very quietly amassing 9 kills through 4 rounds of action. Hotand's only got 4 kills, Nick, but they've all been high value. Try to instill in people that just because you have a kill or a lot of kills does not necessarily mean that they've been important, but given the scoreline being what it is, it's undeniable that Spirits' 9 kills have been very high impact. What does M80 even do here? Not just in this round, but with this map, they are very quickly ending up on the wrong side of Clubhouse. Yeah, I mean, I mean, at least you get gifted a kill from that run out.
At a cost, right? Like, they do lose SPoit now, and again, it's just like frustration. These small things are just like really not working out for M80, and they feel like every step they take is getting punished because, I mean, they are getting punished every step of the way. Keener now to fire. 1 HP now, basically 20, but 1 bullet. And then look at this, just get out of there. Oh, no, the cross there. Ben had to cover. Punished now is Spirits. Attackers from M80 now get catwalk control. This puts them in a decent position now to actually fight for this round.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Apatow is still up, so those fire arrows can be used on the raptor should somebody be actively holding it, but instead it's just an evil eye cam that, you know, manages to smash, but that's about it. It'll still remain there. This is one of the best looks that M80's had deep into a round. Kino losing his duel to Diffuser, though, that's a bit of a head scratcher. East Coast in the numbers advantage. HotandCold, though, taking some damage earlier on. He's got 1 toxic canister, and with 20 seconds remaining on the clock, there will be 1 avenue towards this bomb site that will be cut off by that gas, providing he survives, of course. Diffuser was spotted for a moment, and there's the gas up down by cameraman. As he's got the diffuser, he'll have to just stuff right through it, but he's worried about dying. Citizen is off to the races. Gavin's been dropped. All of a sudden, it's Hotand in a 1v2, but Gavin's Nitro. What a confusing end to the round that was. All of a sudden, there's 2 seconds left, and Citizen seemed like he knew what he was doing, and then the nitro cell and the gas goes off, and that's it for the round. All right, well, it's a scramble from M80. I will say this. Kino is somebody who never seems to be bothered by what's happening in front of him, but that did not look like a particularly enjoyable look upon his face. As M80 find themselves on the wrong side of an 0-5 start.
And if you go all the way back to the beginning of that round, it looked like a rush from M80 where Noodle sprints in off the exothermic charge, and you're thinking, okay, the whole cover is gonna arrive at that breach, right? No. Noodle dies immediately, and everybody else were running the other direction away from the breach. So I'm not sure there's like miscommunication, or if they just like, I don't know, they were gonna go for it, but then because Noodle died, they called it off. But either way, M80 not looking like the team they did, you know, they've been looking like the entire stage right now. The basic fundamentals of the team play not really fully there. This could of course be a map issue of just Clubhouse. It could be that they're saying, you know what, we don't care about the SI points as much, we want to save a bit of strats. But again, very competitive players, very competitive teams. It would surprise me if anybody can go to the server and go, guys, let's not care. Because I know that as being a former player myself, you're gonna say, I don't care about this, let's just play for fun, whatever, hide some strats. But then you play a couple of rounds, you go, guys, we're better than this. We're gonna go in there, we're gonna win, we're gonna show the fans, we're gonna prove to ourselves, we're gonna prove our opponent how good we are and get their confidence in our final game before the major starts next month. Either way, I have a second technical pause right now. I'm not sure what the issue is, but hopefully we'll be back shortly so Beast Coast can keep up their momentum and keep destroying M80.
Was that you throwing to a break? Because it sure sounded like it.
No, that was just my point.
Wow.
I was saying, I hope it's fast.
Have you ever considered being the one to handle the transitions during games?
Nope, not once.
Oh, okay,
I work
well,
with
that's
I work with Carter. He takes it. Stokes. He takes it. You take it. It's a very easy life for me. I just sit here.
Or if it's you and Stokes doing play-by-play, neither of you take it.
That did happen yesterday, and Stokes was like, you know what, Nikki? I forgot to talk to her because I'm a color commentator these days. Like, you know what? I got you, bro. I feel the same way sometimes. It's fine. You forget that sometimes it's your turn.
I think this is a good time now that we have a technical pause. I have to speculate that the UI disappeared for a period of time. I have to wonder if that's maybe the culprit as to why we have this tech pause. Clubhouse is the most played map in North America by a country mile. 10 plays to Oregon's 7. Chalet is in third with 6. Because of that, 118 rounds have been played on Clubhouse, and not even one of those rounds has been on the main floor of Bar Stage, which means that Clubhouse is a pretty standard 3 bomb site rotation. Most favorable bomb site to the defenders would be that Church Arsenal bomb site on the bottom floor. Well, they're 5-0, so Beast Coast are 2-0 on that bomb site. Bedroom and Gym is the next most played site, but it is the only one of the 3 that has an attacker-favored win rate. But it's still very close, 46 to 54. Fashion CCTV rounded out with 52% of all of its plays being, or 52% of all of its rounds being won by the defenders, and 31 rounds in total being played, which is just a little bit behind that Bedroom and Gym. I am intrigued to see if we will see a Bar Stage pulled out at some point today. This is maybe not as high stakes of a game as the matches yesterday, nor as high stakes as DZ and OXG were to start off this match. But you gotta bet that both of these teams are playing for the SI points. They're playing for greater out of the prize pool, for better seeding, and of course for bragging rights. You get to be the best team in North America for Stage 1. Both of these squads, that's quite the feather in your cap. Neither of these rosters existed 2 months ago. Technically, officially. Their first official matchup was just a couple weeks ago, frankly, 5 weeks ago, give or take. And both of them have silenced the doubters, especially Beast Coast. I think most people looked at the roster of M80 and said this roster has some pedigree. They know their way around a match. You know, you've got a major champion in SPoit. He's sensational. Citizen is great depending on his application, depending on how you want to use him. Hammerman is another major champion. Everybody on M80 has proven their worth, and not that Beast Coast hasn't, but there are very valid questions that can be asked about Gunner's roles and performance on Sonics. I think people look at Spirit's time through the NA League and can wonder why he maybe all the way back on, was it Parabellum and then Altiora before that, and maybe he didn't live up to the billing. HotandCold obviously is a staple. He's been around NA for a long time, but the big moment always seems to elude him. Fuser's brand new. What is Beast Coast going to be like? Are they going to be a top tier team? The answer right now obviously is yes. And not only are they a top tier team, but they are 2 rounds away from stealing M80's map pick away from them and being, going to the second map in a great spot. Beast Coast have continued to improve game by game by game, and the fact that M80 is doing well shouldn't really surprise anybody, but Beast Coast is probably a very welcomed surprise to people who are tired of seeing the same 4 teams atop the NA standings. Well, with that said, I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. Thank you so much for coming along. The tech issues, unfortunately, are persisting, so we have a break ready for you, and then we'll come back when everything is all well and good. Get underway with our 6th round in Map 1 between Beast Coast and M80. Sit tight.
Alright, welcome back everybody. That was a shorter break than one would expect, but we are indeed back in the server. All 10 players, they rejoined quickly because they want to continue this best of 3 series. In case you're wondering, Beast Coast dropped 5-0 starting on Clubhouse defense, and they have looked mighty fine so far on this first half. M80, I will not say that they have looked terrible, but there's certainly a couple of things they could do better in the small details, in the teamwork, and killing department on the attacking side so far. They tried 3 rounds going for a slow, methodical approach, That didn't work. Then in the final 2 attacking rounds up until this moment, they tried to go fast, but that was shut down as well. It looks like there are no gaps on the side of Beast Coast, and they are in full control right now in Clubhouse. And to make things worse, this is M80's map pick. You'd expect them to do well, but so far they have really fallen short on those expectations.
I wonder how much of this downtime has been spent just trying to write their own mood.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm a far cry from an expert on body language. And I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze where these teams are at. None of these things should shock people. But at the same time, when you look and you know, a team loses a couple rounds and they're still jovial and they're still joking around. Part of you is like, I mean, you should be mad that you just lost these rounds, but at least like I'm glad you're kind of keeping in good spirits.
Yeah.
M80 did not look very happy in the slightest. Even Kino, who looks like his house could be demolished by an earthquake and he'd still be smiling. Even he looked frustrated at what's been happening. And these teams are hyper competitive. Sure, the stakes might not be there when you're talking about qualifying for a LAN, but neither of these teams want to lose this matchup. Doesn't matter what's on stake. Doesn't matter what's at stake. HotandCold attempting a bandit trick, and well, unfortunately, EMPs are just way too strong, and he pays for it. He tries to retreat into bathroom. Luck in chat. You know you've got them when they're typing at you. And boy, oh boy, I'm not going to say that Kino deserved that kill, but I'm also not going to say that Hotan is wrong.
The big bandage tricks now are there is picking the right side, because if you want to get that exothermic charge, they were unsuccessful. So now the attacks made it, they gotta win the bomb side, and against what, they're just gonna go for a rush.
Beast Coast are losing the duels across the board. Spirits and Gunner last 2 alive, and it looks like M80 will finally get on the board. They've isolated Spirits, they've kept him out. He's far enough removed from the bomb site that he can't have much of an impact. Working his way through cash towards construction as Kino successfully gets the diffuser down. Eventually, the proverbial rubber was going to hit the road. And here it is for Beast Coast. Though there's 1 kill from Spirits, attempting to lure one of the last 2 players on M80 out of their position, coax them into a fight. Spirits has no intel, though. He's shooting at every single part of this map that doesn't contain a human corpse or human body. Now it's Spirits who's the corpse. And finally, M80 gets on the board, though the first half being a 5-1 in favor of Beast Coast. It sets them up quite well. Clubhouse in NA is not a defender's paradise. It actually bucks the trend that we see in a lot of other regions, which means it doesn't matter what side you're on, you've got a fighting chance. And Beast Coast have more than a fighting chance of winning these final 2 rounds and sniping the map away from their opponents.
I'm glad seeing M80 were able to like capitalize on that pick they got with the wallbang onto HotandCold, because given how the previous 5 attacking rounds played out, I would understand if they were gonna be a bit timid and like slow to the punch because they've lost their confidence. But no, they got the wallbang kill, and about 5 to 10 seconds later, all 5 attackers were inside the building by the bomb site and just using the fact that they knew they cleared out that bathroom player and there was nobody watching the entry on the breach to that mirror window. So a great read, a great follow-up, and all 5 players actually bought into the same approach, whereas you saw maybe previously, 1 person's rushing and other 4 people are running in the opposite direction away from the fight. Side swap though, and just like Beast Coast, M80 will start in the basement with the room clear, but they're not on the same page about which barricade should go where, so the cameraman will pull it down and replace the regular barricade with a castle barricade instead, because he is holding bar control, while the rest of his team, most of it at least, will play upstairs, and it looks like potential spawn peaks here from Citizen. Or not.
The unfortunate thing with the rehost, other than the delay itself, was that we've lost all of the stats for these players. Spirits was at 9 kills. He's got 2 since coming back, so he's definitely above double digits. Did not have a photographic memory, but most of the players on Beast Coast had decent KDs. I mean, that comes with the territory when you're 5-0. Kind of hard to have bad stats when you haven't lost a round, unless you're just going 0 on entry every single time. HotandCold, though, He breaches in, SPoit dies. It's technically at the hands of Gavin, but it's a team effort. And again, Beast Coast's team play, their synergy, has not worsened at all as this stage has gone on. You can't call it beginner's luck. If anything, they're becoming more cohesive the longer time goes on.
Oh yeah, they are definitely still getting better and better. C4, the Punisher Spirits, takes him down as Hibana, so maybe the hatch could be problematic later on, but there is secondary hard breach on the side of Gavin on the block those can openers. But HotandCold's in the middle of the bomb site. I don't know how, but he's here.
Not sure. Last time a Blitz found themselves in this position, did not go well for M80, but they're now on the other side of the coin, and things are going quite well. Gunner chasing Noodle off of his position. Where are Kino and Cameraman? Because HotandCold is all alone inside the bomb site with Diffuser. Smoke around him. Kino 3-0. Nitro Cell to go out. That should net HotandCold with ease, and it will. Gunner's upstairs. Doesn't really have much. 1 minute to get to the bomb site, 1 minute to get the Diffuser, 1 minute to find the last 3 players from M80. He'll find Cameraman, but Cameraman wins the duel with the Super Shorty in hand. And 2 in a row for M80. East Coast are so close to putting this away. You know that frustration will build the longer that M80 continues to win.
Yeah, I like the attempt though. The quick entry, successful, but then things fall apart on the kitchen portion of the map. They don't get the hatch opened up, so HotandCold being the Blitz in the middle of the bomb site gets very awkward very quickly because there's a lack of support from the rest of the team due to the failures inside the kitchen. But hey, sometimes, oh, he was outside the building even. That is unlucky. But yeah, C4 Kino finds HotandCold. Plant does not go down. Gunner, last man alive, out of the bomb site. That's not gonna go anywhere. Now we've seen both teams play Bandit, and that's been a big focus point for them. Just like deny the breach for as long as possible. But M80 did ban out the 2-brow themselves, so you cannot, pair the Bandit with the 2-brow to freeze the wall, trick the wall, rinse, repeat. A big question then when you see a Bandit is, are the attackers going to play Maverick? Well, right now Gunner went from Finger onto Maverick because of that. This ensures you can always get the wall opened up. There is a cost though. Maverick is a little bit slower and much more prone to a C4, so you could lose a player early on if you misstep on that Maverick torch. But again, I like this. Both teams respecting the boundaries of the other. They play Bandit, they answer with Maverick, and it's gonna burn some of that flexibility on the attacking side, as you're now limited to what operation you can bring out, since you have 3 different hot breachers and a Thatcher.
Well, there's doubling up, and then there's tripling up, and then there's quadrupling up. Maverick, Ace, Thermite, and then of course the Buck with those can openers. Yeah, Beast Coast, as you pointed out, they really want to get in the building, and nothing is going to slow them down. And well, who's the best friend of hard breachers in the entire game? Thatcher. Now, here's the greater issue, though. That single wall that leads into construction can be easily bandit tricked, and there's really nothing you can do about it unless you take Logi. That's really the only way to pressure. I suppose if you were to try to fight through construction door from bedroom, but it really just does allow a bandit to play in there with impunity if you're not going to put somebody in a position where bandit needs to make an active decision. Do I try to trick this wall, or do I give up and try to fight the player coming at me? It's very similar to when you know there's a frost map beneath a window. You have to make that judgment called whether or not you're going to hop in and shoot the frost mat, or whether you take the engagement and then ultimately get down by the frost mat. Now it's a much easier decision to make because the frost mat is no longer fatal. You can pick yourself up. This is what I was talking about. Not only can he control that single construction panel wall, but he can control the 2 that also lead into logistics. East Coast are in rough shape. Down goes Spirits to a nicely thrown Nitro Cell at the hands of Cameraman. Kiva barriers will slow down the advances of Beast Coast from bedroom side. And it does look like, despite the numbers, we're looking at a very defender-sided Clubhouse.
I love the setup though. It's very uncommon, so Beast Coast might not have seen this before necessarily, or had the most experience against it, and they're struggling to problem solve. They got the Maverick, but Gunner ain't there. The skill barriers are tough to deal with, but there it is. HotandCold gets 1 kill and dumps down that hatch.
Shocking that Beast Coast came out of that engagement in a positive direction.
Yeah.
It seemed like almost certainty the cameraman would win it, but his aiming, it just failed him. Cotton lost a lot of HP in the process, but is actually down Citizen through the floor. Noodles dropped to Gunner. This is so winnable, but Gunner and HotandCold are on a sliver of HP, Kino full HP, a Nitro Cell in hand. Even the smallest shard will finish them off. It's Kino against Gunner in a 1v1 with only a couple seconds left. Kino playing keep away. He doesn't need to move a muscle, but he gets the kill either way. Did you watch the UFC fight last night?
No.
It was the
But I
equivalent
saw the
of
clip.
what happened at the very final fight when he said,
Yep.
he said, it was the third last fight. He said, stand here and let me beat the hell out of you. And that's exactly what happened. And with 1 second left on the clock, he got a knockout. Kino with 1 second left gambles in what could have been a 50-50, but he has a shotgun and he felt good about that decision. And it was the right call, but it also very easily could have been the wrong call. There's a Nitro Cell I said earlier that was tossed out around all those Kiba barriers. M80 have now won 3 rounds in a row. If they win one more, I have to imagine Beast Coast will call a timeout because they will have completely lost their grasp on this game. Especially if we consider that the defenders are very strongly suited to win most, if not all, of their defenses.
Very surprised that it became such a close round down to 1v1 because it made it look like they had full control for the vast majority of that round. And I love the setup. They play open wall close to the bomb side, reinforce often instead, bandit trick, and they are only able to do that because Asami is up and available to provide security inside of construction. Beast Coast didn't quite problem solve it efficiently, but they did brute force it in the end. It made it looking a lot better on their defense, also with team play and coordination. And of course, it's typically easier. You have your default setups, you got the shot on paper, you know what your role is going to be every single round, and all you have to do is react to what the attackers are doing. So a little bit less adaptation is needed, and they're thriving. They're looking good, they're feeling good, and they're finally finding that scoreboard. Kino, for example, since the rehost, 7-0. Amazing performance from him. East Coast, they're kind of slowed down their attacks right now. No more blitz, no more super fast in the building. They're giving more respect, I want to say, to the side of M80, trying to avoid dying to C4s or pre-fires to a wall, etc. And they want to try and get to this bomb site with as many players as possible because they keep dying early.
Diffuser playing on red stairs now, and Buck will take up space in what is referred to as the Buck office, which is lounge over towards stock. He's tempted by... Hold on a second. This is a live look at Noodles player. He wanted to join. Who was it? Was it Diaz who impacted himself in the previous round? Now it's Noodle botching the Nitro Cell. SPoit trying his damnedest inside a cache. M80 have really been working hard to stitch these rounds together. And yet, this could be the end of that, what do you want to call it, momentum, so to speak?
Yeah, round win streak, yeah.
Well, the win streak would certainly end, that's for sure.
Cameraman
and Kino, the last 2 remaining. Both Brazilians playing for this team. Kino yet to die since coming back from the rehost. Oh, Cameraman got a good look, but he was worried about being pressured by construction, so he has to pull out of that position. But they know there's somebody at the window, which allows Kino to slow peek this. Question is, where will the vantage point be? He thinks that was him, but it was not. Timothy was somewhere else. And now Cameraman in a 1v3 with 30 seconds to go. Spirit's on the window with Diffuser in hand. He's a high-value target. He can't die, or else Beast Coast will need to send somebody else to retrieve that case. Instead, Cameraman will loop around through construction, hoping to have a flank on his hands. Maverick of Gunners watching. There was a drone established in Logi. He knew it was there. The fight needs to be brought to him, but Cameraman still looking for another. He manages to catch Gavetti looking the wrong way, but Gavin has ice in his veins, and he cools off M80. Match point on M80's map. Beast Coast 1 round away from going to their map up 1-0.
It's again way too close for comfort. Again, they had a drone in office the entire time, and then Cameron gets the flank off successfully. I don't know about that one, boys. Discipline up from side of Beast Coast. Again, respect your opponent. Do not count them out, even though it's a 1v3 or a 4 versus 2. Comes down to the wire again, and this does look like a very defender-sided Clubhouse, regardless who's on the attacking side of things. I will say Beast Coast, they've been trying to do things very differently than that of M80 so far on the attacking approach. They're operator lineup, they're pacing where they're attacking from, but they are finding similar struggles on the initial entries and peeling off that extension on the defense. M80, they could go bar. They could have, would have, should have done it. They didn't. A little bit disappointing, right? I want to see all 4 bombs being played out as much as possible. They're going to go back to basement, and they're going to play a more turtle-oriented defense, I would say, because Bandit, Kaid, Asami, this is more of a, we care about the bomb side and making it unbreachable more than it says, hey, we want to roam and get proactive. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't have any roaming presence. You still typically want to have a player start top floor, kill a couple of drones, try and stop a time, or even in this case, Noodle and Bandit also behind the walls. Maybe playing both sides of the coin right now, but I would not be surprised if they fall back sooner rather than later, because the bomb set itself has to be the priority right now with this orbital lineup.
Is that a botched Kiba barrier, by the way, that
I think so.
Right now destroys, or maybe just realizing that he doesn't want to play that angle anymore? Keep in mind, Kiba barriers do not function the way that castle barricades do. When you rip down a castle barricade, it goes right back in the pocket of castle, right? With
Yes.
Azami, she doesn't get the Kiba barrier back. It's as good as gone. And yeah, it did look like that was a screw up because SPoit has now put it in the other direction.
Unlucky.
That could be quite disastrous. If you lose 1 or 2 Kiba barriers through, I don't know, negligence, misfortune.
Skill
Kiba barriers
issue.
are so crucial.
They are. I mean, it's probably still one of, if not the strongest defender gadget so far in the game. Asami and Fenrir probably tied for first in different ways. Soul is a close second. So yeah, definitely could be impactful later on. M80 just brings out of cash. That's it. They've surrendered the rest of the roam game. But we see the silhouettes. They're falling back downstairs. Half the round burned. That's their timer. 130. Play the bomb side out 5 versus 5. Beast Coast, they're still kind of wasting time, effort, and drones and half breach utility on that top floor. I want to say this was a successful roam from the defense, and they still now got 5 players alive. They got 2 C4s with those Valkyrie cameras. They can easily find a free pick here.
Oh, 100%. Airman got droned out on stairs, by the way. That little device catching him for a second right as he pulled the nitro cell. A shotgun at that close range is insta-death for any of these attackers. Is he worried that there's a Valcam in that position over towards blue? Yes, I mean, he's correct. There is indeed a Valcam in there, but not where Gavin was looking. All the while that Beast Coast waits and tries to find this, the farther this objective gets out of reach of them.
Oh, SPoit ran back. He actually had the perfect opportunity for a free kill. Diffuser was with his pistol in his hand. SPoit runs back though. They want the 5v5 and bleed Beast Coast here on the attack. 30 seconds left. They gotta go soon.
And there might go Church Wall. Citizen swings from Church Door. Down he goes. The hands of Gunner. Gavin with 2. Breaking in. No holds bar. Beast Coast only need 1 more. They won't win the round flawlessly. If it were up to Noodle, they wouldn't win it at all, but Noodle doesn't get a say. He gets shut down by Beast Coast. And M80's map goes into the win column of BC. They're up 1-0, looking to cement their status as the best of the West. 1 more map to go, potentially, Nick. What an impressive first map. We'll be back with more in just a few minutes.
HotandCold praying to the Siege deities that he can get 1 more map in this series and walk away with Beast Coast winning a stage championship in the North American League. That, or he just really has a migraine listening to Gunner all the time, and I don't know which one is the right answer. Beast Coast take M80's map pick in this series. They are now up 1. They'll go to their own map right after this. And I mean, again, it's another map that just went awry because of how dominant that first half was.
I mean, to be fair, I went to the bathroom when it was 1-0, and I came out in those 30 seconds and it was 5-1, and I was like, okay, well, this is obviously not the way that I thought Clubhouse was going to look.
Yeah, a rough attacking half from M80. They definitely were running a lot of shortcuts. Felt like they were getting into gunfights way before they necessarily had the information or the crossfire set up. They were struggling to isolate people. I mean, rounds 4 and 5 especially, the start of that second quarter, it just felt like they were trying to rush in through dirt, or they were trying to rush into CC breach, and constantly they were getting caught off guard. Beast Coast were always ready for it. I really want to highlight Spirits. You can see before the rehost, 9-2, and then we rehost. We'll get the full stats later, but he continued to pop off. He was fantastic for Beast Coast on that first half.
And that was a lucky shot by Kino there that we saw in that thermite. HotandCold definitely made sure to point that out. But yeah, it was a very kind of unorthodox playstyle that we were seeing from M80, especially when they went to this defensive round specifically. I've never seen it in a zombie setup like that in construction. I mean, kudos to them for winning this round. Kino plays it perfectly here. But yeah, it's definitely a little interesting. This isn't quite exactly the M80 that I thought we were going to be seeing today, and you said it best, that they're definitely cutting corners in many different situations where had they just not cut those corners, we maybe see this be a closer map.
Certainly, and you know, some fundamental mistakes there for sure. We saw the Noodle self C4.
That was interesting.
That's a rough one,
especially
for sure.
when you can watch where your C4 is going. So
Everyone's got the tracker off.
It happens.
They know.
It happens.
Maybe he's playing without it now. You know, maybe we really want to test himself. He's
You think there's some pros that just decided, screw it, I don't know, just turn
Noodle,
it off? Like,
Noodle, literally Noodle. You want
Noodle
moments like that might
doesn't need the help.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, fair play. So M80 lose their own pick. Obviously not the start that you want. Took a timeout trying to center themselves after 3 rounds, and it didn't work out. But Spirits is the man of the day, 11-5. He's doing phenomenal before the rehost, and afterwards didn't have to pop off nearly as much, because that's when Gavin stepped up to the plate a lot more.
Yeah, Gavin, even Diffuser. We've talked about him all the time. I mean, these 3 players, Gunner, obviously, I mean, he's not dropping the 14 like he typically is, but nonetheless, Gavin, Spirits, Diffuser, these guys are all playing extremely well. Again, I didn't think Clubhouse was going to go this way, given how they played against Luminosity, given how they just recently played against Dark Zero. I did not think that this was going to be a 7-3 going against M80, so I'm kind of left in confusion of what NightHaven's going to look like.
Yeah, I'm worried for NightHaven, especially because M80 chose to start on the attack for that map. That's going to be really, really tough for them. We just saw their attacks, and, well, they didn't really go very well. They got a single round. So, yeah, we're looking very good for Beast Coast to become the North American League champions.
But it's a tale of NightHaven being a map that both teams dominate on. It was just played yesterday for M80. They rolled OXG in map 3 of that series. Beast Coast played it against Sonics and had a perfect defensive half. But it's because M80 chose to start attack on this map that leaves me quizzical. I'm not sure what that's about.
It's questionable because this is such a tight, focused map. But I will say, when they did play this on attack, I was impressed with how M80 was forcing Oxygen into those tough positions. They were taking that control. So I guess when I really think about it from that aspect, it doesn't really shock me. But at the same time, like I said, it could put that false kind of thought process of that your map maybe looks a lot stronger than what it might actually be, because again, Oxygen, we have not seen them playing the way that we wanted them to be.
NightHaven Labs, though, was also Beast Coast's first win of the season. It's what broke their losing streak. It's what started them on this journey to become the new and improved Beast Coast after week 2 looked so rough for them. How poetic would it be if it was also their last win of the season, and if they became North American League champions by playing NightHaven Labs? Kind of sounds like a perfect storybook ending, if you ask me.
I think the thing is, both teams are going to Manchester. If M80 come back and win, it shows resiliency. If Beast Coast dominate on 2 straight maps and don't let a map 3 happen, they go to Manchester looking relatively strong for a team that, again, was a virtual unknown about a month ago.
Definitely, but both teams look strong. Nonetheless, obviously Beast Coast, I think for bragging rights and just the resurgence that we've saw from them, like that is the better storyline in my opinion here. Kind of just like what we even saw back at SI. FaZe easily could have won that. W7 ended up winning it, and that was like the best storyline possible that could have ended that year on. This is the kind of the same situation here.
We don't mind ending a tournament with a storybook ending.
Yeah, absolutely. This would be like the best case scenario if Beast Coast ends up being the #1 team going into Manchester, leading NA on that forefront.
But I do want to see M80 fight back. Obviously, this is their NightHaven Labs.
No cutting corners.
No cutting corners on this one, please. Let's keep the pushes concise. Let's keep them all encompassing and well stratted out, because NightHaven Labs is not an easy map to attack on. And if they struggled on Clubhouse, NightHaven Labs, they got to be a lot sharper.
Who will be the #1 contender heading to Manchester for North America? Is M80 got a little bit of fight left in him, or a Beast Coast about to run away with this one in 2 straight maps? I do believe Intero and Pengu will be the ones to tell us that.
You are correct. Very correct indeed. I am Pengu. That's Intero. That's Intero. That's Intero. Pengu told me how much money he won from Rainbow Six Siege, and it is an eye-watering amount of money. It's available to see on his R6 Wikipedia page.
It's literally public knowledge. You just do the math.
I bought a house in Denmark.
Together.
You should come see it. I have a giant cat. His name is Sly.
I bought an apartment in Denmark, and my cat is giant, and his name is Sly.
Oh, the public favored M80 at one point, but how the turntables, because now it's Beast Coast 51 to M80's 49%.
Damn. Switch on.
NightHaven Labs is an intriguing map for this thing to end off on. Should this be the end? If not, it goes to Chalet. NightHaven Labs, not a very well-loved map in most regions, but in NA, that's actually not the case. It sits with 4 plays ahead of Border Cafe and Skyscraper. So it sees decent play, but you know what NightHaven Labs happens to be, Nick?
What?
The second most defender-sided map in the map pool. The only map in North America that is more favorable to the defenders, Skyscraper, and it's only been played twice. So how much can we actually glean from that? Whereas NightHaven Labs, 42 rounds, 4 plays, you're averaging about 10.5 rounds per, and the defenders tend to win the lion's share of them. Well, the Beast Coast, they're actually starting on defense on their own map pick. So there's a possibility here for Beast Coast to run up the score early.
That's surprising, right? Because if you pick the map, your opponent picks the starting side, and then you pick attack, and we just saw what happened on Clubhouse. Of course, you pick the sides, before you play the first map. You do that in the very veto phase, like an hour before the game start. So you can't usually use like what happened on Clubhouse as a reason, but still, M80 might regret this. Because their attacks on Clubhouse did not look put together all that well. The synergy, the coordination, nothing was really working out. Hopefully, it's gonna be the other M80 that shows up. The team that is really good in attack, that has the firepower, that are quick in the building, that are fighting those engagements, that are trading their teammates when they fall in battle. Because if not, East Coast, they will absolutely love to fight them every inch of the map. And this first round, the operator lineup tells that same story. We're seeing Vigil being played. Vigil is the I am in your face, but you can't quite see me if you're in a drone, and I will take any gunfight that you put in my path. Then you have something like a Legion as well for intel, Solid's counter intel, but then the site itself will also be fortified with something like High Claw from HotandCold. So Beast Coast, they got their own, but it's also hard to breach the walls or hatches leading to the bomb site.
I know Jacob's a wrestling fan. I know that we have a big wrestling belt sitting next to him on the stage. So I think it's a fair point for us to say that Vigil is the John Cena of all operators. You can't see me. Except he does it without waving his hands in front of his face. And I'm also willing to bet that Vigil doesn't do anywhere near as many Make-A-Wish requests as John Cena does. Oh. Vigil tends to be on the more sinister side. Though I suppose lore-wise, not a ton is shown in most of the trailers and videos that Rainbow Six puts out, though we've seen Vigil from time to time. He is an operator that is uniquely positioned to deal with some of these attackers that we see most often, one of which is Lion, with Cameraman running the Lion. Well, gonna put Gavin in an interesting spot. Could potentially do some serious damage.
It's been a bit of a slow approach here. I like it, taking their time, not risking those early deaths, but they gotta pick out this roam. Spirits very much up there, as is Diffuser, so was Gavin, and they're looking like very actively to jump out windows, and they're looking like they're almost desperate for a fight right now. Swinging the door, swinging the window, but Noodle, instead of clearing the roam, he's approaching the side instead, and maybe they might have found a gap here.
A bomb has been located.
They struggled to do that for most of Clubhouse, so finding one this early on for M80 would be good. Noodle's in the middle of the site. So is Kino, putting the diffuser down. Gunner attempting to go back is watched by Noodle. Full utility, M80 winning immediately on this opening duel. Cameraman, the only one on M80 who's died. Diffuser goes down. The other diffuser, one on Beast Coast, still very much alive, and he finds Citizen. Now Noodle is dead as well. Beast Coast trading HP, getting back closer to position. M80 left to just SPoit and Kino. Gavin dies, SPoit cut down, Diffuser trades. It's Kino and Diffuser now in a 1v1. A battle to the... Oh! How does Diffuser win this? Are you kidding me? A quad kill to start their own map. East Coast pick up where they left off from Clubhouse.
What do you do again? I mean, there's nothing to like, okay, you gotta do that differently or do this differently, because they had a really good post plant. They were upside down repelling on the window outside the building. That gets figured out. They have a 1 foot on site with 17 seconds left. The door is still barricaded. And like a hipfire, couple bullet spray finds the first bullet headshot to take down the last attacker. And there's still time to go for the counter defuse. That is ridiculous. And when things like this is happening, you're thinking as M80, what are we supposed to be doing? How is this going so wrong? And honestly, I don't think there's a real solution. You just gotta forget about that round and go next.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
That's
just
tough.
there are times where there are statement rounds and there are obviously statement kills. The fact that Diffuser just got a jiggle peek hip fire kill onto Kino with enough time to then hop on his own namesake and disable it is really something else. When I say there are those rounds that can really swing the outcome of a matchup, that is honestly a round that could break the proverbial backs of a lot of teams. You just lost your own map. You're already licking your wounds. You've already got a lot of work to do to catch up to this almost unstoppable Beast Coast squad. And what happens in the first round? Well, things seem to be going pretty well. You know, you don't have to expend a lot of utility. You walk into the bomb site. It's free for the taking. So you take it. Beast Coast are playing far enough back that they catch you in your transition out of the post plant. And then, out of all the ways to die, that's how Kino dies. Obviously, I'm nowhere near talented enough to be playing at this level, but I wouldn't fault somebody if they threw in the towel after that. At least they won't admit it, but hard to stay motivated after.
Or certainly will be. And I just want to point out for this last point, like these codes were so quick in that post to figure out what to do, like the C4s, covering the crosses, starting the counter diffuse, like no seconds wasted. This round M80 also much quicker to the punch. Noodle again, last time found the gap, this time finds the opening kill. M80 on their own through successful. And despite that last round not going their way, they are not slowing down. They're still in it mentally, which is a very good sign given how frustrating the last couple of rounds have been for them.
First Selma thrown out, it comes at the halfway point. Utility work has not been the staple of M80 through this entire series. Been finding kills left, right, and center this round. Fuser almost goes down, but then has an ugly duel with cameraman. East Coast in a bad spot. Now it's Gavin's turn. Through the blindness, he hops right on it. It feels like there's somebody outside. Maybe he's correct. He's out-dueled nonetheless, and now Spirits is in a 1v4. This could have been a 2-0 for M80, but they're going to have to settle for one round and one round for their adversaries. Every inch counts between these two teams. I do appreciate the fact that Beast Coast are living up to the billing. They are not faltering in the face of adversity. M80 will have their hands full for all of NightHaven Labs.
I guess it shows why M80 chose attackers for starting side, because they have now looked very good in the very first two rounds. Very clear plans, and they've accomplished their goals every single time. 2 rounds, 2 plants, opening kill as well. No real complaints, and they should have won that first round. They really absolutely should have. Beast Coast not having that same defensive success as on Clubhouse, but NightHaven is a very different map. It plays out very differently, and the win conditions change too. Unlike Clubhouse as well, you don't have as much map to work with. Like, this is the bomb site, right? Upstairs. If you want to extend somewhere, you can play where Diffuser is playing. You got a jungle or connector. You can play Aqua Fish Stairs, often where Spirits is playing on the Warden. And that's really it. You can play Catwalk Raptors or HotandCold right now. Like, that's really it. So extending across the bomb site is very close to it. When you play Clubhouse, you extend across the entire map, and you have this long portion to work with. So a bit more limited options, I would say, with the Beast Coast. Less movement, less opportunities to go for a flank, for example. I like it though. They bring out Gavin on the Valkyrie. It gets a bit of intel to work with. They got mirror windows. They're bringing utility. There's no Ash on the side of M80, so no easy direct counterplay here on towards those mirror windows. You gotta just use the EMPs and the hard destruction like they are right now. Selma on the left, exothermic charge on the right, EMP in case of any Walton Eye. What happened to the... Oh, I think the Selma charge exploded the exothermic charge on the wall, and therefore the wall is not gonna be opened up maybe exactly like they wanted. Unless, of course, they don't care about it because the wall is open. That's all you really want technically, but it is wasted utility.
This is something that the less experienced players of this game might not immediately know, but the reality is that your own hard destruction gadgets can destroy your other team's destructive gadgets.
Yep.
You put an exothermic charge and X-Kairos next to each other and they can blow each other up and vice versa. Same applies for that Selma. Now, though, down one piece of hard breach utility, no exothermic charges available for Cameraman at all. Only one Selma left in pocket for SPoit. You'll have to rely an awful lot on those hard breach gadgets that are brought by Kino's Ying. So what do you do if you're M80? Well, you try to get into the building on your own without the aid of that destruction. It does not work out well for Noodle. At least he'd gotten those EMPs off before finding a relatively early grave. We're just past the halfway point on NightHaven Labs, and M80 had some issues getting into the building, though they are as close as they are going to get. And I imagine that East Coast will be all too happy to greet them once M80 does decide to rush in.
Bit of a rotate here from 80. I think they're gonna go to plan B instead. Kino in the garage window. That's okay. Mirror window though could be problematic. Also note, no smokes. Okay, they just swing. No smokes on the attack to deny that mirror windows line of sight. Only flashbangs or candelas, but now with Kino dying, candelas are also gone.
Impacts to go out onto the wall, but they don't find much. Gavin trades out Citizen. Nobody dying from Beast Coast just yet. We haven't actually seen a flawless round between these two teams. If SPoit dies, well, it'll make its debut. Finds the bandit, though, a diffuser. A run out as well from Gavin got SPoit's attention, who had walked into IT and now has no choice but to back out. He's got access to the case. Looking at kneecap level, but it's Gunner from farther away. He wasn't the first line of defense, but I mean, you've got redundancies. Gunner, that second line of defense, will give Beast Coast back the lead.
Looking much stronger in that round, but again, I think it really boils down to the opening duels right now. If M80 can get that first pick and ride the momentum in that single round and get a foothold inside the building, they look like they're in full control. But the rounds where they don't get the opening pick, where a player of them dies, they stall out for like 30, 40 seconds, and then they go for a desperate play with a lack of coordination, like Kino jumping in alone, nobody there to trade him out, nobody swinging Garrett's door, and then Ying dies as well. So they lose two players all of a sudden, and with that, statistically, the round is over. M80, just like on Clubhouse, they will call a very early tactical timeout to turn this around, talk about the problem, solve the problem, and set this up for a long match, hoping for that third map.
Very early timeout, no? Like this, we're three rounds in.
It was the exact same on Clubhouse.
In.
Yep. Back-to-backs. Clubhouse, they lost 3 rounds in a row, called their tactical timeout. Here, they lost 2 of the 3 rounds, also called the tactical timeout. So it's not too great, but again, if you choose the attack and starting side, you're gambling on getting as much success as possible because either you got the counter prep or really good feel for it, or because you fear for your own defensive side once Sideswap comes around. And looking at the scoreline right now, with how the first round played out, this should have been a 2-1 for M80. We always have to go back to that very beginning and go, M80 should have won that initial round, but they didn't. And that can go back to bite them later on if this turns out to be a very close series, or at least a very close map.
M80's coaching staff knows more than us. There's no way around that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But as an outside observer, watching this team play through most of the North American League and now Also looking at this matchup in particular, it's like M80 lost some of that moxie. You know, we're only a couple days, a week or two removed from SPoit and Citizen wiping out every single team that seemed to run afoul of them. And they've gone up against, on paper, tougher competition. But when you're running into players like Spirits, like Gavin, like Gunner, you don't necessarily think that they immediately stack up to SPoit or Citizen or Cameraman. And yet, here they are doing just that. And it goes to show you that individual performances aren't what really makes it work in Rainbow Six. It's teamwork that makes the dream work, baby. First pick went to M80, but Beast Coast not just struck once, but have now struck twice since then. Cameraman and Citizen are gone. You lose Gavin. That's bad. Gunner prone on the floor. SPoit also prone on the floor. He sees Gunner. What an odd engagement. It puts M80 in the driver's seat for this round, holding a 3v2 advantage. But HotandCold and Diffuser have looked so strong this entire day. Not just this day, but also the whole stage. Hotand saw one outline of M80, said, I don't want anything to do with that, and peeled off. That's, I think, the right move to make when you've got so much time remaining. You don't want to potentially put yourself in harm's way this early on.
Oh my. Look at the side instead. This is awkward. Defenders are above, attacks on the side, but the red ping's coming out. HotandCold has the intel, finds it for a 2v2, and M80, they got a minute and 15 seconds to figure it out. They can't just plant though because there's intel on the side. Either they gotta go back upstairs or find those cameras and then try and plant later on.
I mean, I think it's a brilliant idea for Gavin to die so that he can watch the cams to enable the rest of his teammates. Diffuser is swung on. He's pinched by the last two remaining players of M80, one of whom, Noodle, is reduced to a flashing red bar. Hotand still governs from above. The doorway that M80 will likely need to walk through is exactly where he's staring, but oh, he falls off. No. You can't spend too much time in that position. It's a bit of an unwieldy set of recoil. Hotand gets the down. I don't know if he's got that information. Now Kino is very vulnerable getting the diffuser down. It's read into by Hotand, but he can't seem to find the case at all. Kino will assuredly go and retrieve Noodle at this point because you need both players up if you want to win this round. I don't think Kino has a good idea as to where Hotand is. So really, that just cuts across the board. None of these three players know where their opponents are. Kino knows where Noodle is. Noodle knows where Kino is. That's about it. So Hotand will descend the stairs as the timer will continue to work against him. Vault on over. He sees Noodle. You might as well secure the kill, but you've only got 5 seconds to find Kino, who's posted up by the door. Hotand will swing, and even if he'd won the fight, the timer was so low, it was an almost certainty that the round would go in M80's favor. I don't think there was any hope for Hotand there one bit. These teams very well balanced so far on NightHaven Labs. 2-2 the scoreline through 4 rounds.
Bit of a shame there for HotandCold because I think he had a really good read, but just not the patience, if I can say it like that. You know, he held the door for 20 seconds or so. The moment he looks away, that's the only way they push through it. It doesn't get the full value there. He does find the injury, but again, the lack of intel. And M80, they had a really good start to that round. There was a full-on rush top floor, and despite Citizen's grenade not destroying the castle barricade, slowing it down for a bit, it was again all 5 players of M80 playing together, looking for that same objective. That is when they're the best. And when they've been playing their best level of play, they do it every single round of attack. On Clubhouse, we didn't see it whatsoever. Here at NightHaven Labs, I was in the first 4 attacker rounds. 2 of them had looked phenomenal. A third looked like good. And then they had 1 round that was just like, it was over very quickly, right? So really good stuff here so far. Side swap, so to speak. I think 3-3, I mean, great for both teams. Goes for, you know, makes for a great map or a close map for us as well as viewers and casters and fans. But if M80 choose attack starting side, I feel like they want to aim for a 4-2. So they're aiming for more, and I think that's fair. M80 gonna go through a couple different operators, something since before. Previously on the basement bomb site, now they do it again. Citizen on the Twitch to find those default cameras and deny the intel from the defender to Beast Coast. Create darkness around the map. so that later on for that room clear, you have a higher chance to succeed once you enter that building.
Well, Kino might have had a bit of a slow start on that very first map, but he picked it up in the second half. Carried over now to map number 2. Nobody really springing ahead here on M80 other than SPoit. Just pretty standard stuff. I don't think I need to reference those kills yet again, but if you were not here for map number 1, SPoit is something like almost 30 kills above second place, and second place is Citizen on his team. SPoit is something like 40 kills ahead of third place, which is just an absurd total. Now, it is worth noting that M80 has played a fair amount of maps up to this point, so the numbers will be higher just based on the amount of games you play. And for the teams that did not make the playoffs, yeah, their numbers are going to be low because they only got to play those 9 games, and that was it. Those 8 games, technically, because everybody got a DQ. So the more games you play, typically the more kills you will have, but it's not just the fact that he has kills, it's the numbers that correspond with it. SPoit's the #1 rated player in the league. He is a plus 45 KD right now, plus 8 on entry. That's spectacular stuff. And Citizen's plus 31 as well. So you run across these players and they're going to kill you way more than they're going to get killed. Maybe not so much in this match. Maybe the issue is that M80's supporting cast is not setting up Citizen and SPoit enough for the kills, or maybe it's just that, in this case, Citizen, who sits at 1 and 3 in this round, is having an off day.
Take the execute. Gonna try and force that movement from the roamers right now, looking for free picks, but now time is becoming a problem for them because Beast Coast did not overstep their limits right now. So M80, next time no sensible comes out, they gotta go for broke because time is slipping away. Kino falls early, Beast Coast in the driver's seat.
There's a run out from Gavin. Gunner with 1 as well. A nice GG there from Beast Coast. 3 remain for M80. Cameraman getting the hurt put on him. Spirits as well. The more damage that's done to M80, better it is for Beast Coast. Citizen drops, thought he had a kill. He does. He manages to secure Gavin. Gunner and Diffuser put a bow on that round and send it away. Back and forth, back and forth, back, and potentially fourth. Final round of the first half, Beast Coast with the lead.
Very good overview from Beast Coast. The confidence in the setup. They only had 1 single player on the bomb side, and despite the fact that there was both a hard breach of Kino, Ace on the breach, and Noodle on Sense throwing out those walls as well, they did not overreact to that execute. And they didn't know for sure whether maybe were planting or not by my looks at least. No cameras, no pings coming out. So the plan from M80 was solid. Fake the execute, force those roamers to react to it, and they had the rest of M80's players waiting for them, holding their angles. But again, they understood what the win condition was. They were like, okay guys, they can't plant, they're not gonna go for it, just wait, nothing's happening, don't stress it. And they just sit and they wait, and then they lash out before M80 can actually go for the real execute. It's genius, really, and it goes to show that Beast Coast are good at reading the tempo of these rounds when the push is coming in, because I feel like M80, they can play fast, they can play slow, but I don't feel like Beast Coast are being surprised when they change the pace. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, of course, like anything else, but Beast Coast seems to be ready for it, regardless of if it's the fast version or the slow version. And that is impressive, because that's very hard to do. Made in the final attack will bring a more utility-oriented lineup. Maverick, the Capital, the Ying, and of course, back up in the Ace. But Gunner, again, always finding these early picks. Somebody stop this man. Cameraman down for the count. That's Maverick, which could be a pretty big deal because Diffuser is playing Bandit. Those walls might not get opened up as easily or as quickly as you would want.
There was a lot of chatter for the entirety of his time on Sonics about whether or not Gunner was playing too loose, getting himself killed by being sloppy or being too aggressive or just downright dumb in the way that he took engagements. People would repeatedly say, no. It's once Gunner starts playing safe and once Gunner starts playing more with the team, you'll see his potential. I mean, there was a reason why the Sonics wanted him in the first place. And I don't know what it is on Beast Coast, but Gunner's being enabled to make all of these plays on his own. Cameraman and SPoit are removed from the server. All at the hands of Gunner playing on his own. East Coast getting those first 2 picks. This lead for them is nowhere near as dangerous as it was for DZ, who, when DZ would go up 5v3 against OXG, OXG would immediately turn it around. No, Beast Coast, that stickiness again. They're so hard to trade out. Giving Beast Coast a numbers advantage is just a recipe for disaster.
And it's frustrating. Like, the way that Gunnar is finding these kills, super frustrating. We saw when SPoit died, his facial expression, it said it all. It's like, oh, what is this guy doing? That's so dumb. But it worked. And it is working consistently right now. Now we see M80 go for the execute, but it's a 3 versus 5. They're down 2 players.
Noodle try to swing it back. Hold on a second. I might have spoken too soon about the DZ curse. M80 finally gets back into the lead in terms of numbers, with Gavin reducing M80 to Kino and Citizen. Typically, these are 2 players that you can rely upon.
Ouch.
Hasn't exactly been the case so far, at least not maybe for Citizen's side of things, but Kino finds the 5th kill, and more will now fall on the shoulders of Kino. Candel is going out, Diffuser going down, Gavin sees him. Solus will prove to be so crucial, and both Gavin and HotandCold coalesce around this bomb site. Kino will just continue to fall back. He's got no utility remaining, but he's got a lot of bullets, 75 bullets. A fire hose of doom awaits these Beast Coast players. HotandCold needs to get up ever closer, as right now the plan is for Gavin to stall. Hotand hops onto it. There's Kino with 1. A quad kill for Kino. The disbelief on his face tells the full story. And how about a little bit of cheekiness? Multiple times throughout that round, it looked like Beast Coast would persevere, but it's the player who was maybe unceremoniously benched from M80 who made his triumphant return to bring the hurt and ensure that the first half is just as even as the first round. Neither of these teams with a lead through 6 rounds. We are no closer to the end of this match.
And that is such a big round. 3 versus 5, completely locked out of the building, and Kino, it has the best gun for the job. An LMG with more than your typical standard 31 bullet count. He can go for pre-fires, he can go for sprays, and he played that near perfectly. Beast Coast, they had a good read, and I think the way they approached that 2 versus 1 was smart. One person go on the counter defuse, one person cover. When Kino starts fighting, get off the counter defuse and fight together. Kino 1 step ahead. Also, the initial shot onto Gunnar, clean first bullet 1 tap on the swing. That is a 1-man army right there from Kino. 7 and 3 as well. And as expected, as predicted, of course, a 3-3 first half. But again, we'll say for the final time, the very first round should have been M80's. They could and should have had a 4-2 half by choosing to start on the attacking side. Now we're gonna see though, can they be as efficient on the defense? Because that can be a problem. You might be good on one side, that's not gonna get you all the way. You gotta be good on both attack and defense to lock in these maps and lock in these rounds. Otherwise, it is gonna slip away. East Coast, they didn't know that they were as good an attack on Clubhouse as they were defense, and if that's gonna be the same trend here, it could get problematic on NightHaven Labs.
Well, it could be far from over in this engagement. Oh no! How many times has that happened to you in ranked or even in comp play where you swing and then immediately go onto cams because you fat finger the button? That's my speculation, by the way, as to why we saw Diaz impact himself. It wasn't intentional. I don't think he was just trying to deny. I think it was either Bolo or NJR, whoever was in the kill position. I don't think he was trying to deny them a stat. Sometimes it happens. Reload is R for most people. Gadgets and cams can be 4. That's right above each other. HotandCold said long ago that once he hit a certain age, he was put on hard breach duty. No more Ash main. Well, he might not be playing Ash. He might be playing on a more support-oriented operator in RAM. He's still got access to that R4C. Gunnar missing out on him. What could have been a freebie onto Citizen. Both of them just pass each other. Now the drones will go out. Cameraman being spotted multiple times, cutting through those track stingers deployed earlier by Diffuser. Halfway point of this round.
Isn't it a shame for Gunnar? He misses in the cross twice in that round, and they're gonna stay roaming. I like this confidence from M80. Despite losing Noodle early on, they're still gonna stick around. Spirits on the Jangle finds a tremendous amount of value, but no one's really acting upon this information. East Coast relatively slow to the punch, but they're walking down the staircase. They might just say, you know what, we got what we wanted. We're gonna hit the bomb site instead and just worry about the upstairs portion later.
Down goes Diffuser to SPoit. Diffuser has been a huge bright spot for this Beast Coast roster. HotandCold has found his way inside of the bomb site, so while Beast Coast might be one player less, still in position to get that Diffuser down. Beast Coast winning their duels. Kino and SPoit eliminated. Citizen and Cameraman as last two standing. Cameraman firing through the wall. Spirits dies amidst the smoke. Cameraman will need to find a way closer to the bomb site. Maybe the hatch is the way to go. Now Citizen down cargo stairs. The timer will start to run, and there will be one player from Beast Coast watching this angle. Gunner might as well have been an NPC because Citizen crushes him with limited contest. Still in this spot, but they know that there's only a single door for him to go through. No nitro cell to create a bigger opening. Gavin now sitting on top of the diffuser. Fire going out. Gavin evading it for the time being. That Goyo canister will continue to burn. HotandCold, who did most of the work that round, will take matters into his own hands at the very end. Diffuser goes down. Hotan watches over it, and he says to Citizen, "This is my baby. Not today." Beast Coast back in the lead again. Neither of these teams have won consecutive rounds on NightHaven Labs.
And also, both teams found success at getting the diffuser planted. Like, NightHaven Lab can be tricky because it can, you can win or lose rounds on the roam in the early stages of a round. But M80, they got down 3 plants in 6 rounds. Beast Coast are 1 for 1 so far. So both teams playing that, objective play. This is our goal. It's not about the roam clear and get as many kills as possible. It's about getting enough kills on the roam to get that staircase access to get to the bomb site itself. That's what they want. And then we saw HotandCold go for a plant, but despite being only 1 second away from getting it down successfully, he hops off the diffuser plant attempt and they push deep throughout the bomb site because they saw on a drone or a player call out that 2 defenders were retaking top floor, so bomb site was going to be very weak. So they played the site, built a bigger advantage, and planted in a safer spot that couldn't be denied from above. Really good read, really good approach. Both teams showing they know what it takes on the attack.
At first, I thought this might have been attack pause or attack timeout that was called, and I was like, why would Beast Coast be calling their timeout as M80 used theirs after the 3rd round? Why would it be Beast Coast using theirs when they're in an advantageous position? But instead, it's a tech issue.
Unlucky. It seems like Beast Coast are... It's always like whenever they win a round, when they got some momentum, it tends to happen. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. It does give both teams a chance to relax here and think about their next strategical approach. While you cannot talk to your fellow teammates while this is happening, you can still think in your own mind, okay, we could do this differently, or oh, we got this trap in our pocket that we can use, or maybe if you did some counter prep work, you now sit and kind of dwell on that. And then when you get back from a technical pause, then you can share that information with your team and come out ahead. So you can still do something with this time, but it's going to be individual thinking, not team thinking.
There's a part of my brain that always goes back to a very crucial matchup at...
Please enlighten us.
There was a time where the team that was in many ways considered the predecessor to M80, that was known as XSET. And they were playing against a team that was called Beast Coast.
Oh no.
And it is widely considered to be one of the worst matches in North American history. It was just a downright dreadful match. There were almost no bright spots. The only bright spot was the "why are you sprinting" bio that Kix did. That's pretty much the only good thing that came of that matchup. And boy, oh boy, does that not feel like an eternity ago. Yeah, admittedly, that was almost 3 years ago. But at the same time, look at where these teams are now. XSET exits the scene, M80 enters. It's got similar leadership. Marco, who was a part of XSET, is now dealing with M80. Beast Coast obviously went through trials and tribulations, swapping things up, bringing in different players. And now you see the best iteration that Beast Coast and M80 have ever had. And it is astonishing to me how bad those teams were several years ago, and now both of them are fighting for first in the NA. And of course, one of the orgs is different, even if we do want to trace the lineage back, that old XSET roster, which I think is fair to do. M80 could inherit the XSET legacy. I'm fine with that. East Coast is still the same organization. None of these players were on their respective teams at the time, so the rosters are completely different. But it just goes to show you that changes to support staff, changes to the players, changes to attitude, and make all the difference in the world. And now here we are. Ooh, nice toss from Citizen. We've seen this a couple times, but it's usually Maverick holes that have been opened up on the walls instead of just a Nitro cell tossed out through an open mirror window that had been ejected moments before. That's not exactly the start that Beast Coast wanted. But with the way that this match has been going, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it means that this round has to be won by M80. That's what it says in the script, at least. I'm looking at it right here.
I mean, looking at how this is playing out, I mean, I think the script is going to be followed to the T, because they got an opening pick, they're not falling back, reinforcing all jungle, they still got those mirror windows, towards like facing from the bomb site into that breach. And Beast goes, you know, plan A is, guys, let's get both walls opened up. Now they have one wall opened up, and then the mirror windows shattered and popped on the other breach, but they can't into the building with that. So what can they do? Spirits maybe go downstairs, use those Deimos trackers and go for a vertical kill with the pistol. That's a possibility. Capital fire and smoke could find value as well with them going out, not entirely sure where. But up the fish staircase might just be the solution here, but he has to win the gunfight.
You almost did it on the one tap at the top of Fish Stairs. The deployable shield in the way, and he gets smoked from a pixel angle that Noodle's holding. Noodle's lined up for a second, but can't hit the shots onto Gunner the way he wants. Instead, try to test it with his reflexes. Unable to do it. Cameraman dies to HotandCold. Admittedly, there wasn't much left of the Bandit. It's been a really rough day for Cameraman, who had a slow first map and is having a very slow second map. Gunner and HotandCold sprinting in, M80 collapsing like a house of cards, but there's one more player they haven't accounted for. SPoit and Kino are there, and it's SPoit to pop up and shut it down. The script doesn't lie. Yet another round that goes back and forth. Tied again.
Really good setup there from the defense of M80 as well. They got crossfires across the entire bomb site, and they had a backup failsafe. SPoit prone in the corner, waiting for the prime opportunity to stand up and get a multi-kill. Because if he does it too early, well, he's stuck in a bad corner all of a sudden. But by waiting just enough and a little bit, you know, baiting his teammates, he will set himself up to get the round victory for his team. Beast Coast, I will say though, really great attempt at problem solving that round, playing what was a 3 versus 5 after Spirits died on Deimos on the fish staircase. It shouldn't have been that close, but it was because of really quick adaptive plays, and that's the most impressive thing I think about Beast Coast. They don't have that much time together, but they have synergy. They have problem-solving skills that we don't see from other teams who have been together for multiple months or even full seasons. It's very impressive to do that so quickly in a season with players who haven't really, you know, played together that much before. So, I don't know. Also, this right here, run out the window, reinforce the hatch, and in SPoit will go afterwards. It is safe, it looks scary, but there is no chance for attackers to get there that quickly. Maybe with a Mauer, I'm actually not entirely sure, but without, there is no chance.
People unfamiliar with this map, you cannot get punished from that position. It is as safe can be, so there's no real downside other than giving away your position. They know that the hatch is now reinforced because they saw that, but I mean, I don't really think that's giving anything away. Citizen has somehow found himself downed. Not exactly sure why.
Well, he got shot
retrievable at all.
Also, there's a few shield, by the way. That's
You're correct.
That's interesting.
But I think it's a deliberate choice. Spirits likes to play shields. It's not abnormal to see him on Monty or Blitz. For a long time, Spirits was one of the most consistent shield players in the entire region.
Yeah.
Fuse shield is certainly abnormal. but
Yes.
I trust Spirits when it comes to shield operators. I want to see what he's cooking up now inside a meeting. There goes that first cluster charge. Very infrequently are these used to get kills, Nick. They're mostly used for clearing out utility.
Yeah, but there's no utility to be cleared out besides keep a barrier. So I'm curious the exact, line of thinking is here. Final winning pick though. Citizen and Kino both low on HP, so they can prep as a cluster charge up from the fuse, pop it later on to stop the defenders from moving in towards those lines of sight. So this could be quite smart. You guys see what they can do though. East Coast, 1-man advantage, looking to strike the bomb site. Spirits with his shield and smoke grenades can very likely try and get down that diffuser.
Citizen's been picked back up, so he's going to sit on that low point of HP for quite a while. There comes the shield, and Kino doesn't want any of that. He's rushed out of the site by HotandCold.
Damn.
Now it's with the shield on his back that Spirits will attempt to defuse plant. M80 attempting to get back in close to the bomb site. Gavin the first casualty, but Citizen dies and trades. Diffuser down as well. Suddenly it's back and forth. Spirits a fuse shield kill, and Gunner clears the way after that diffuser had been planted. Here's the problem for M80. If you keep trading back and forth, it's Beast Coast who have the advantage. M80 must win 2 rounds in a row, or else it's Beast Coast who, just based on the way these sides go, will ultimately end up winning the matchup.
Again, new roster, new team, innovation. Doing things differently, but having such a clear read understanding of what every single player needs to do and the player positions. I also want to give a massive props to the Observer for catching every single kill from both teams basically back and forth, because it was a trade game, 1 for 1 for 1 for 1 for 1 in very quick succession. And we understood exactly what was happening, and we saw the Beast Coast play positions on the window cutoffs, on the fuse pushing in, etc. And it's so hard to understand what's happening in such a chaotic round unless the observing is on point. Again, massive thank you, great job, because that could have been a what happened that round moment, but it wasn't. The fuse, so successful. Delivers the diffuser into the bomb site, smokes all fronts of sides, save the cluster charge for the execute to pop it to again stop defenders from moving into the site for a retake. Again, Spirits bringing that innovation, and as you said, Parker, known for his shield play, and while his shield play itself didn't really carry the round, the operator that he brought, the utility that he brought, did.
I trusted him. It's nice to have your faith in a player be rewarded.
Sure.
Things are far more normal this time, though. No fuse shield to be found, and not even just that the fuse was integral at opening up some of that site, take out utility, find a way in, smokes as well, and then the diffuse going down, and of course, shield operators put their shields on their back when they get the diffuse plant going, and it makes them relatively impervious to gunfire. Obviously, you can still shoot away at their feet, or if you're in front of them, you can obviously shoot them from the front, but a smart team will not allow that to happen. Hard to argue against Beast Coast needing that fuse. I mean, sure, Beast Coast could have probably won the round with a different operator lineup, but the fuse shield worked, which is something that I never really thought I was gonna say. Now, right as the round ended, I said that M80 needs to win 2 in a row at some point to stave off defeat, because if they win this round, it's 5-5. Then Beast Coast goes up 6-5, goes 6-6, goes to OT. There's only 15 rounds. It'll be an 8-7 victory for Beast Coast, unless M80 can win 2 in a row. You're not going to win 2 in a row when surrendering an early first pick. You might not even win 1. Noodle dies at the hands of Beast Coast, and M80 will trail. They get it back, though. Cameraman's 3rd kill so far, looking for more. He won't get it. There's some strips through Gunner, but that's all he'll get with just a little over a minute to go. M80 finds themselves down a man.
Gunner and Spirits both low on HP here. Those are the roam king operators. No more jackals can live from Gunner either, so if any roamers stick around, like SPoit for example, could be very hard to locate his exact position. And drone count, only 5 left to 60 seconds. Beast Coast, top decision up ahead of you. Do you go for SPoit, hunt him down, or go straight for the bomb site? Because if you're too slow right now, that net will be closing in on you. They're gonna go for site, they're gonna walk in, they gotta hit their shots though.
And there's HotandCold eliminating everybody. It's only Citizen remaining. Citizen having one of the rougher games that he's had all stage, and it comes at the worst time. Beast Coast win the round. Finally, a team wins more than one before surrendering the next to their opponents. And it's Beast Coast 3 minutes away from being the best in the NA.
Both teams fighting that early momentum on both sides of the coin. Early kill, ride the momentum, keep brute forcing throughout the entire building, and we see what M80 they're trying to do. They lose an early player, cameraman goes for a double swing. He finds one kill, then gets shut down, does a bit of damage. But then Beast Coast, they do not slow down. They don't care that you're roaming. They don't care that they're getting flanked. They're just moving forward. And they're basically saying, okay, if SPoit is going to be flanking us, if we go to the bomb site, he's going to be last man standing. It does not matter. The plant also being the objective every single round. I noted down on my pad that was a successful plant attempt, because like 1 second later, it goes down. There's no stopping it. And if we go with that, in the last 4 attacking rounds, 3 of those attacks won by Beast Coast. 3 of those rounds that were won, the diffuser was planted. When M80 they were attacking, they also planted 3 out of 6 rounds and had a 4th round where it could or should have gone down, but it didn't. This is a very plant-heavy NightHaven Lab, which is not always the case. But boy oh boy, is it working out for both of these two teams on the attack. And it's also an attacker favored or equal side as well, which goes to show again the skill expression, the level of play, because attacking NightHaven Lab is not easy. Going for those executes, not easy either. Every single player has to be locked in and fulfilling their job, and for Beast Coast, they are so consistent at doing that.
Well, now it's even more critical that M80 wins 2 in a row, because while it might not guarantee them victory, it certainly guarantees them a lack of defeat. M80 wins this round and then drops the next to Beast Coast. That's it. It's curtains. My, oh my, what a run it's been from Beast Coast. Even if M80 wins this map, Beast Coast has still sent you to overtime at absolute worst. Winning M80's map, losing your own map in overtime for a brand new team with far less experienced players than what you see on the side of M80, that is in and of itself a huge accomplishment. None of these players in the server will tell you that's what they want. They want the glory. We've had our share of healthy skepticism. But so far this stage, East Coast has proven us wrong time and time again, and they're showing that they can absolutely live up to the billing, be the best in the region. Hop in now. As down goes one, but they trade it right back. The nade follows up. Amos with the shotgun in hand. SPoit dies. Beast Coast setting a breathtaking pace. But they're losing out on these duels. Citizen and cameraman giving the advantage to M80. For Beast Coast is all up to Gunner, and he's swatted away by Kino. That buckshot tears through him, and the round goes the way of M80. That was a quick one. You tell Beast Coast we're doing everything in their power to overrun and topple M80. M80 had that rush strat, if you recall, on Clubhouse. It did not work out well for them. Now Beast Coast tries something similar, albeit on a different map, and the result is the same. The rushes, they just do not seem to work today.
No, I mean, CC bomb site is a tough one to rush because, again, you're not really spreading that thin out across the entire map, so most defenders, if not all, will be in a retradable or refraggable position near the site itself. Beast Coast were trying to catch me off guard by going for a quick play right after opening up the breach, and I think it was a smart choice because they spent half the round just getting the first wall opened up. They didn't necessarily have the time to do like a full setup across the entire map and get everybody in the right positions. And the rush essentially worked to begin. They got in the building, they got the 1-for-1 trade, they got catwalk control, but then we saw M80 sprint back towards the bomb site and they just really started hitting their shots and locking it down. Also, they keep a barrier on the door to electric to shut down any entries, really slowed down one side that push enough for M80 to get in the right position. So well done for them. 6-5, SPoit in that same job, getting that hatch reinforced. There it is, and no attackers can stop him. That's just how it goes. The thing is with Beast Coast though, they've been looking like they have different approach to these rounds. They can go for different entry points, different adaptations, but Cameraman, he was spawned by Gunner only a couple of rounds ago. Now he'll punish Gunner back by taking down the Finca. That's gonna slow down the attack, and that is gonna be a very likely possibility of a 6-6 overtime here if M80 can hold on to this man count lead.
You know, I appreciate the way that we toss back and forth, but there is in my mind a small desire that you had stopped speaking about 10 seconds earlier, if only because I was actually going to segue into this round by talking about Cameraman. He was not doing well. He was 2-8. Now he's 6-10. 4 kills, 2 deaths, coming alive at the right time for his team. Eno has also been starting to put up more kills on the board. All the while, the advantage that SPoit had over the rest of this team is slowly decreased to the point where SPoit is a single death away from being an even 500. 10 kills, 10 deaths. So the rest of the team showing up, seemingly buoying the chances of M80. And you're right. I mean, taking Gunner out of the equation, no Finca, no nades, no staying power. And Gunner, who has been fearless against M80, that's one of the best targets you could possibly get to start off this round. And to do it so early on, that's a long time to be at a disadvantage. That disadvantage will grow, by the way. There's SPoit, a 2-piece above. Looked like he took some damage from the boogie drone. Long range. Can't collect onto Gavin. Diffuser walking in. What did we say? No flawless round? SPoit ensured that it wasn't a flawless round last time, and now he's on the wrong side of it. Gavin excited about that one. M80 will not win this one flawlessly, but they are still poised to win the whole round. Send us to overtime. Unless, of course, Gavin can pull off quite the play. 1v4 with 40 seconds left, and it doesn't look like that's the intended purpose for Gavin. Because you know what Beast Coast hasn't done? They haven't called their timeout, Nick. So Gavin can just waste time for the next 40 seconds and effectively get a second timeout for when Beast Coast does inevitably call it.
All right.
I mean, he wasn't. It shouldn't surprise you. He wasn't really trying there. We are either 9 minutes away or less from Beast Coast winning the whole thing, or we are an hour and 30 minutes away from a conclusion to this series. Right now, it's all up to Beast Coast. If M80 wins, we go to Chalet. If Beast Coast wins, they're in first place. They win the North America League. They take first seed for NA. More gold, more glory.
By attackers.
At Spawn Peak really did set off some slow falling dominoes. Dominoes that were unable to be stopped. Beast Coast will go on to defense for both of these overtime, but for both of their overtime rounds. M80 will defend once. They'll come up next. M80 starting on attack.
So when you enter overtime, it sounds weird to say, but the game changed entirely. Because now, you know, there's more at stake. You've been playing a lot of rounds. You've been showing off a lot of your strategies. And you've been playing the same bomb sites many times over. So this is where we see either teams play slower because they're scared of losing, or faster to, you know, surprise their opponents, or change up their operator lineup. HotandCold in overtime will bring out the clash. And following the trend that attackers are a bit slower because there's more to lose now with the, you know, stakes being higher, playing a clash to slow the game down further, and the Goyo as well, could be a pivotal moment later on in this round. And even if not for speed, Clash is just a very hard operator to deal with in the current meta of the game. You don't play a lot of counter operators on an average lineup. Nomad, Capital, Sophia, Kali, for example. Yeah, Capital sees some play, but it's mostly for maps like Clubhouse to clear out Garage Rafters, or Cafe, for example, to clear out the window positions. Citizen either saw the clash or just wants flank watch and is playing the Nomad. That could be a good way forward for them if they can find HotandCold in the clash later on. But I like this. Adaptations on both sides. Playing a new kind of game now after all those previous ones. First minute burnt. Both walls on the primary breach and the jungle wall being opened up. M80 pretty quick right now in this round to get that job done.
That Citizen cam has been frozen for a while, by the way, and I quite enjoy it. It reminds me of the Yogg reaction when Lynx and I were casting from Copenhagen once, where it was just Yaga stone face the whole time. IT opened up relatively early. We are 90 seconds into this round. We're at the halfway point. It doesn't feel like that. It's strange because the first and second overtime rounds always seem to fly by, and then the last one seems to take an eternity. Gunner plugging holes now as he's watched by HotandCold to ensure he stays safe.
The big thing here is just HotandCold rotating on the map, trying to figure out where's the push actually coming from to, deny one entry path for the attackers, to just make beastcoast aware of, okay, this angle is safe, watch the other ones. But maybe they're striking from so many positions, it might be hard to figure out for HotandCold exactly where to go.
Sure, it's quite frustrating for SPoit to see the shield operator, but not be able to do anything about it. Those bullets will just bounce off of the extended shield that the Clash has set up. Noodle will try to take out those walls as well as the deployable shield. They don't know if he got the deployable shield. It seems like he did. There could be the first domino. Gunner goes down at the hands of Citizen, traded out by Diffuser. Stickiness of Beast Coast. Gavin's Nitro Cell connects. Down goes Kino. SPoit fed as well to the wood chipper. Now it's HotandCold to be aggressed on by Noodle, who wins the engagement. Where is the coverage for HotandCold, though? Noodle has the sight all to himself. Cameraman will need to cover. Flash off of the wall to get swung upon. Gavin drops Noodle. Diffuser down, and Spirits' shotgun will send the round away, even though the timer had already determined that Beast Coast would win. They go on top again. M80 won 2 rounds in a row to provoke overtime, but right back to Beast Coast go. So M80 now, in order to win this map, will need to win back-to-back rounds for just the second time in this series. That is a daunting prospect. But both of these teams are here for a reason, Nick. And M80 winning back-to-back rounds is always a possibility.
But it's such a genius round from Beast Coast because they change up the entire win condition for both teams. They play so much utility. The deployable shield combined with the Clash, having power positions in these new areas that M80 haven't seen before. So again, you're forcing M80 to adapt and problem solve on the fly, which they have been known to struggle with sometimes. And it works out. Yeah, the cover for HotandCold in the Clash, it wasn't quite there. They almost surrendered and sacrificed him on the bomb site itself, but it's worth it. They find kills elsewhere, and when that bomb starts going down, they aggress forward. They know the cover can't quite be there from Cameraman inside the catwalk rafters because he's throwing flashbangs. So they deny the plant. Cameraman's last alive. He can't get it done. M80, looking at their operator lineup, we have seen this like 3-4 times before. We've seen the Aqua Shield, we've seen the mirror windows, we've seen the bandit tricking. There are no surprises right now from like a macro perspective, like the overall bigger picture. Sure, the micro decisions, player positions, gunfights can of course happen differently, but Beast Coast, they've seen this before. They know what to do about it, and they have made a small adjustment. Spirits on the Nook. Likely looking for a late round flank somewhere. Now, mind you, Nook did get a nerf, a fair bit of time ago now, I think 9 months or so. When you enter Nook's gadget, that cloaking device, you are still invisible to cameras and such, but you no longer make less sound in terms of movement. So sneaking up a staircase in terms of sound is gonna be loud as normal, but if there is a cam watching a flank somewhere, you will still be invisible. It's a really hard thing to play around as a Nook player, but it might be what they're trying to go for. 2 minutes to go. This first step of the round is to, of course, deny soft breach and the hot breach, but Cameraman, you said it, Parker, he's showing up when his team needs him to the most. Took down Gunner previously. This round is Diffuser and Ash instead.
It is one hell of a time, by the way, to bring out an operator who's only been picked something like a dozen times across all regions at this point.
Yeah.
Spirits is still very much alive as we ride along. Top warehouse right now, he's on rafters.
Spotted. Second floor.
He might actually get a pick here. He does indeed on the Citizen. Fuser died early on, but that's surely a surprise for M80, and Citizen is always a threat, no matter what the scoreline says. M80's got multiple threats, though, so he's not the only one you need to worry about. The rest of Beast Coast, blind quickly, cameraman, showing that experience. There's a reason why he was brought on to this team. Now it's Kino next up with a shotgun at close range. He can play this door frame. They know that there's a shotgun on the other side of it, so Beast Coast need to tread very carefully. All we saw from the Nook was that one kill before Spirits got eliminated. Now it's Hotan next up. He sees the head of the bandit. Cameraman is waiting. Cameraman's been the real prize here. Cameraman dies, and now it's HotandCold's time to breach in. He gets dropped. There's 2 downs. Gavin might not be able to get them back up. He needs to retrieve his teammates. It's Noodle in the last alive for M80 with 30 seconds left. If Gavin can bring both Gunner and HotandCold back to life, this becomes so much more winnable. HotandCold will not be retrieved. Noodle has 2 kills to be found, or that's all she wrote for M80.
10 seconds to go.
Beast Coast have gone through so many iterations. They look mighty good. M82. Oh! Beast Coast win the final round. They are the best in the West. Your North America League champions. The team that almost nobody expected. But that's what makes the surprise so sweet. Beast Coast first in NA.
It's such a good story. It's such a big surprise. And it's not just because they have good shots or they have crazy strats or because they have good synergy. It's all of it. They fill out pretty much every single box from a high level of play from a team, and they do it being a new roster with very little time together. And they did it starting 0-3 in the league, looking completely lost. And then something happened, something clicked, and here they are. What a massive blow up from them.
It really is unbelievable for this roster. Like, think about it, right? Hotan is dropped from Space Station.
Yeah.
He now goes on to a team where expectations are very low. Gunner is dropped from his team. Gavin dropped from his team. Sonics, EZ, SSG making these changes, and none of those teams were better for their changes. In fact, Sonics didn't even end up making the playoffs ultimately, and SSG got bounced on the very first day. DZ fought tooth and nail to get where they are. But all the while, these 3 players that were on the island of Misfit Toys suddenly have found a new home. And it's a very loving home, and honestly a feel-good end to this stage for 3 players who had just been dropped. But don't overlook the fact that Spirits has been a journeyman himself, being bounced around team from team. Spirits was on this roster one time, by the way. He was on this old M80 squad long ago, if you track the lineage long enough. And then, of course, Fuser comes in, and who'd have thought that he would be the best rookie of this stage? I think it's undeniable that Ashen was the best rookie of last year, and he had big shoes to fill in Diffuser. Diffuser has certainly lived up to the billing. East Coast are the best team in North America. They dispatch M80 2-0, and it's a result that I don't think anybody, even a couple weeks ago, would have ever predicted.
You're right. I mean, we got, Beast Coast, phenomenal team, but let's not also undersell media, right? There was a very close series. It could have gone either way. It came down to that poor performance from Clubhouse to start things off. M80, good on NightHaven. That Clubhouse, though, gotta solve that.
I mean, when you get blown out on your own map, it's a very, very hard climb after that. And honestly, kudos to M80. They have been an exceptionally talented team. They have all the tools that they need to do well domestically and internationally. And that, to me, is the only question mark for Beast Coast. We've seen that they can beat up the teams in North America. But how does that translate to the international stage? Because they're going to be playing teams from Korea and Brazil and Europe that they've never battled before. Will they persevere? Or will the lack of experience compared to some of their peers, especially their NA peers, be the difference maker and have Beast Coast go home early? That's not a question that needs to be answered today, because I'm sure there will be some celebratory soda pops on the side of the players of Beast Coast as they win 2-0. That's it for our matches. We still got one more desk. I'm sure you want to hear what they have to say. I certainly do. We'll be back in a couple minutes with the conclusion of the show.
They entered Siege in 2018 with a dream to be the best. They picked up one of the most promising rosters in North America at the time, but left just a little while later as they got signed by a different org. They rejoined the scene in 2020, determined to find a way back to the top, but go through roster after roster after roster, and finally end up here with the best team in North America. For the first time in history, Beast Coast are NAL stage champions, and that is one of the best graphics we've had this entire stage.
If I'm Grant right now, I am crying. I am on my knees crying. He finally has a roster that is going to a major event, took first place in the regular season. Grant, I'm happy for you, none to say the least.
An exceptional day for Beast Coast, coming through now, becoming the North American League champions, a org first, of course, for the team. They've never even made a major before as an organization. They come through a brand new roster, 5 new players who have never played with each other before, and they become the champions of North America. That's incredible.
They become the first North American team to acquire triple-digit SI points heading into Six Invitational 2025, and Jesse Chick was right. This is the best roster Beast Coast has ever fielded.
I mean, with these players, how could it not be? I think everybody could have seen, I'm not special for tweeting this. Anybody could have seen at the start of the stage that this roster of these players was gonna be good. Everybody knew, compared to previous Beast Coast rosters, these guys had some insane potential with how many lands they've been to in the past, with how many major accomplishments they have all achieved individually. But even myself, I don't think anybody could have thought at the beginning of the stage that they would be here today as the #1 team in North America in such a short period of time. Even though I believed in this roster, I don't think anybody would have predicted that they would be here today.
Absolutely not. And the team that even came close to that was the old wild card, and that was a huge run, but then they fell flat getting into playoffs. But then you have this team that took it literally from the bottom and went straight to the top, straight to a major, straight to beans on toast, and then closing it out here to solidify yourself as the best team in North America.
To do it over an M80 squad that showed so much promise and was touted as being the most consistent team in the league is a feat by itself, but just thinking about the whole journey over the past several weeks, having a team they have to form from the ground up after not having any experience playing with one another at all. Guys who are probably still maybe reeling a bit from being removed from the teams that they were on previously, having to immediately refocus, come into a brand new structure, suck for the first 3 games, and then find a way to turn things around. And now it means they're going to a major for the first time in org history. Diffuser's getting his first. HotandCold on the flip side is getting his 13th. So this is this is just a crazy story.
It's crazy. Some Flipside. That's when he joined. Was back in Flipside. That was back in 1970.
All right, calm down, dude.
1970, back in my day. And HotandCold top frag the server as well, 13-9. Nah, the team, not the server. SPoit's got to spoil my stat. 13-9, still incredibly impressive. Everybody said he was a Montaigne one-trick. Turns out if you ban his Monty, he brings guns to the server and he starts winning some games. I mean, he's hitting some shots.
I was gonna say this map in general, I was a little worried because we said M80 was cutting corners, and then I saw, Carter even said it best in the group chat. He said once we saw that 1v1 at Gavini in that last round, he sat up and started watching the game. That's when I was like, wait, what's about to happen here? And they end up clutching it. But I mean, this game couldn't have been any more of a slugfest, and that's what I was hoping Clubhouse was gonna look like.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, looking at this grand final overall, from the very start to the very end, Beast Coast went through the highs and the lows. Yeah. They dominated Clubhouse. They really did. 7-3, starting with a 5-round victory in a row. They went so hard on M80, and then the second map wasn't so easy. Their pick, you'd expect that map to be a little bit easier for them. It was definitely more difficult. When they only got 3 defensive rounds, I was concerned, but they got 3 attacking rounds as well. Really impressive stuff. Map 1, running a train on M80. Map 2, closing out in a banger overtime game.
I mean, one thing I want to say, there's many things that you can say about Beast Coast to give them tons of credit, but the one thing that really sticks out to me for this being a brand new roster, all different mindsets, is how fast they came together in terms of adapting, the quick thinking, the quick plays of adjusting and how you want to do that. That is so hard for a brand new team that just comes in to be able to have that chemistry, to be able to have that synergy, to be able to move around the map like that, and to coordinate that quickly and sync that well this fast is insane.
There's one guy above everybody else I wanted to talk to in this interview, and that's Matthew HotandCold Stevens. Dude, congratulations. You are an NAL champion. It took a couple weeks to really get everything finally to this stage. You finally did the darn thing. Talk to me specifically about the week 1 mentality to now. How drastic of a difference is it, and how relieved do you feel?
I mean, mentality-wise, I don't think it really ever changed. You know, we got on the team ready to put in work, and I feel like everyone put in the work. Obviously, we started off slow. I mean, we've said the reasons why, but I think we were better than all the teams we lost to the first 3 games. Like, we showed it in scrims, at least, to those teams, and then we just couldn't translate it to game day, and then we just finally put it together.
Hotan, I'm a little concerned right now because for every team at the major, the game plan was supposed to be play against Beast Coast, ban the Monty, and you can win. But we just saw your opponent today, they banned the Monty every map. It still didn't result in them taking you guys down. What's the key to beating you guys? How can you still play well with the Monty and without?
I mean, I feel like the key to beating us is just like, if we're having a bad day, you know, like if we're having a bad day comps wise, aiming wise, I mean, that's kind of how Siege is nowadays. Like whoever's on that day is most likely gonna win, you know. And like I was crutching the Monty, trying to abuse it as long as I could, and then DZ was kind of shutting it down. So I mean, I was ready to not play it anyways today.
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't really even have a question. I just want to congratulate you. I mean,
1970?
Listen, hey, I was right there with you. You know, we're both
yeah,
old heads.
I was about to say, you're older than me.
Jeez, dude.
Well, maybe not.
Immediately coming back to bite your
I
ass.
don't really have much questions for you. Every question that I possibly had throughout this entire stage, you guys proved why you guys have made this huge comeback. And now you guys are first place. I mean, how does that feel for you? Yeah, I mean, how's that feel for you?
I mean, it feels awesome. Like, I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect it. You know, my hope was just to make the major. You know, that was the main goal. But it feels awesome just because, like, I mean, I was kind of questioning my own like self-worth as a player, so to say. You know, I was very close to retiring this stage. You know, Beast Coast was the only team that wanted me, only realistic offer I got. So if they didn't take me, I was gonna be SSG's analyst and then eventually try to coach. But I mean, it's awesome just because I mean this team just gives me the full power to do what I want. You know, I'm not stuck on a role where I can't talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I like playing that role, but I mean, I feel like talking, you know, and communicating with the team is my strong suit, and I feel like it's, you know, showing.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely showing. I mean, when you guys first found your first win against Sonics, Gunnar specifically said you guys were having that identity crisis. Then they all looked to you as the father figure. And then sure enough, I mean, we're seeing 7-1s, 7-0s, 7-2s, and now first place, Manchester. So I think you said it best. You were able to lead this team to this success. Obviously, that falls on them also following suit and doing that. But I mean, I think you owe yourself a big pat on the back for that.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words.
Last question for you. I did a real quick recount just to make sure I had this right. You're going to your 14th S-tier LAN event since the 2016-2017 days. It's quite a lot. It's not as many as guys like Canadian and Cameraman, but for you as one of the only people from year one, season one that's still left playing the game on an active roster at this point, that's a crazy stat. But I'm mostly curious how much you're in this for you at this particular moment, because you have a team around you that's you've been to more LANs than your entire team combined at this rate. And you mentioned maybe analyst work is the future, maybe coaching if playing didn't work out. And now you're going to lead a rookie to his first ever major. How much right now are you playing for you versus how much you feel like you're playing for the guys you're playing with?
I mean, I feel like everyone's always playing for themselves, but at the end of the day, you know, we come together as a team. But you know, I'm trying to get a fucking win before I retire. At least. You know, I'm not trying to retire on nothing. But I mean, if I have to, I have to. That's not the plan. I think I still got it what it takes. It's just all about like hitting the strides when at the right time. You know, I feel like every major team besides W7M, to be honest, like they just hit their peak at the right time. So hopefully we hit that peak.
Matt, go grab your major championship, dude. Congratulations on being first place, and we'll see you at the major. All right, dude, take care.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Beast Coast have climbed the mountain. They've gone from zero to hero. We can put as many idioms on this as you want, but that accomplishment is one of the more impressive things that you can get to. My question is just, Was it easy because there's a couple teams that aren't doing that hot this stage, or was this really them popping off at the right time?
Listen, North America can be a bit of a farmer region. We won't deny that, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, you've come out and you've beaten the best of the best. Maybe the bottom of North America has struggled, but the top is no easy feat. I mean, we put 2 teams in the top of top 6 of the 6th Invitational. This is a good region when you get to the height of the heights, and Beast Coast have beaten the heights of the heights. They couldn't go any higher. They've beaten every team inside of North America to claim that #1 spot. There's no asterisk on this in my mind. There's no qualifications. This is Beast Coast, the best team in North America, and a seriously real shot of making it far in that Manchester Major, maybe even winning it.
One final look at that bracket, by the way, because this is something that I think those Beast Coast players are probably going to be hanging on their wall. Look at how far they made it after being kicked from previous teams. That's crazy.
I mean, again, with all 4 of these players, all questionable decisions in my opinion. And then you find them all on a team, and then again, I mean, we're going to keep talking about this.
Yep.
Terrible start, horrible start, and then a huge resurgence, and now leading North America into Manchester.
Yeah, and for North America at Manchester, we've got our 3 representatives so far: Beast Coast, M80, Dark Zero, 1, 2, and 3, all phase 2. We're not done yet. I think NA deserves one more team in an international event, and of course we will get that one more team. But I mean, I don't think that we could be sending better representatives. Based on the stuff that we saw at this stage, based on how these teams played, these are the best 3 teams in North America, and there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Let's take a look at what we've got coming up next week. It's our last chance qualifier bracket. Every team that got knocked out in playoffs, and almost everybody that didn't quite make playoffs, is in this bracket. Oxygen, Wildcard, and Sonics are all here, as well as SSG's main team. But there's an Academy roster in there. There's a team called Los Mangoes. When the hell did Makers come to North America? This is going to be interesting for next week.
Yeah,
I'm calling it now. Los Mangoes.
They're going to Manchester.
I was community casting the Open Qualifier playoffs earlier this week, and Los Mangoes defeated Los to get that spot. Let's be clear, they beat the NAL team Los that you're remembering. Los Mangoes, completely different roster, all North Americans, no Brazilians on that team. So congratulations to them, Makers, and all the other Open Qual teams that have come through that will be fighting against the North American League squads that were in the closed league and now fighting out for that final spot in Manchester.
The 5th place game taking place between Luminosity and Space Station will be happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, so there actually might be a chance that we get a couple people on this couch to go co-stream that sucker because of when that happens tomorrow. Gentlemen, it's been a wonderful stage. Final thoughts before we finally ride off into the sunset.
This was a banger of a stage, and this was a banger of a setup. Instead of being at the desk, we're on a couch. That's like best case scenario. I'm comfortable, I'm cozy, I don't gotta wear a suit and tie.
You can if you want to.
I mean, I can if I want to, but I'm just realistically.
Blazers on this set kind of pop off though. Look at that.
Blazer does look good on you, but I do like the casualness to this. I mean, I like both. I'm not gonna lie, I like both.
Sure.
They're both unique in their own way, but it is nice to experience something like this for the first time. And again, the stage as a whole, the teams, everyone, all the storylines, it's been a great stage.
It has, and it's been a great first stage for this new year as well. 2024, stage 1 of the North American League here in Philadelphia, having a fantastic time. Obviously took me a little bit to get here, to get into it, but
finally did though.
I'm glad to be here. No, and it was a really great stage of North American League. The stories that we had with Beast Coast, but also with M80, with the teams that didn't maybe live up to the expectations in terms of Sonics and Space Station, Los. I mean, we had so many different storylines coming through from North American League. I seriously think it was one of our best stages ever, and it was great working with you guys. Jacob Lax. I had Fox on the brain. I was gonna say, and also
Damn!
Fox. Oh,
right
no.
at the very end, you got him to leave.
In my head, I was thinking, I can't forget about Fox because he's not here. No, and Laxig, also good at his job. And even, like Jonah, who was here for one day as well, subbing in, was sick. So it's nice seeing everybody here working on the desk, and I think everybody did a great job.
Well, thank you both very much for joining me. As always, it's always a pleasure working with you both. And as for us, we're almost done, but there's one last thing we need to get to. We need to thank the Philadelphia crew that got us all the way through this whole perpetual cycle. So if you indulge me for a second, our creative director and producer, Ferme, our director, Ian, our engineer and replay man extraordinaire, Bach, content guru, Nico, our audio overlords, Liam and Holden, Stan on graphics, Josie and Jorge on comp ops, Aaron and Ben on the back end, for Parker, Pengu, Carter, Sam, Jonah, Jays Wills Willinger, Jesse Chick, Gabriel Laxing Nirolez, and Davide Foxe Bucci, and myself. Thank you very much for joining us on the North American League. We'll see you next time.